as our Spanish interpreters. For those who'd like to attend the meeting virtually in Spanish, that option is available. Hannah Interpreting, would you please communicate that for us this evening? Gracias.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this session. Muy buenas tardes a todos y bienvenidos a esta sesión. In order to provide language access, this meeting will have simultaneous bidirectional interpretation into Spanish and American Sign Language. If you're bilingual, you don't have to click anything. But if you're not bilingual and you're using your laptop, in a few seconds, you'll see an icon shaped like a globe at the bottom of your screen. Click on Language Interpretation and then select English. If you're using your phone or an iPad, please locate the three-dot menu in one of the corners of your screen, click on Language Interpretation, and then select English. When you speak, do so at a moderate pace so the interpreters can be simultaneously interpreting everything you say. And remember, in order to have a bidirectional dialogue, everyone needs to enable the interpretation. A efecto de proporcionar acceso lingüístico, esta reunión contará con interpretación al español. Si usted es bilingüe, no tiene que presionar nada, pero si usted no es bilingüe y está en su computadora, en unos segundos verá un icono en forma de globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Haga clic en interpretación y después seleccione español o Spanish. Si está en su iPad o su teléfono, entonces busque el menú de 3 puntos o que dice More en una de las esquinas de su pantalla, haga clic en interpretación de idiomas y después seleccione español o Spanish y después aceptar, finalizar o done. Cuando hable, hágalo en español y las intérpretes estarán simultáneamente interpretando todo lo que usted diga. Gracias. Thank you.
Gracias mucho. If you wish to view the closed captions of this meeting, please view the meeting on the San Mateo Union High School District Board Meeting YouTube channel. The link for the YouTube channel can be found on our website. You may view the captions in English as we live stream our meeting tonight, and you may view the captions in a variety of other languages if you choose to watch after this meeting has ended. Viewers may request additional accommodations by calling 650-558-2201. For our deaf and hard of hearing community, we have a team from Hannah Interpreting Services, and they will be interpreting our meeting this evening. We would like to ask everyone to speak in a clear and reasonable pace for our interpreters tonight. Thank you. We're going to go with the Pledge of Allegiance. So, Superintendent Booker, would you like to lead us, please?
Absolutely.
May we all stand?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Superintendent Booker. Okay, report of actions taken in closed session. There were no closed items. No action needed to be taken in the closed session. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Booker for our two CCS recognitions. So, Superintendent Booker.
Thank you very much. So
three,
yeah. It's really fantastic. So tonight we're going to recognize some of our outstanding student athletes. We've got 2 volleyball teams that made it to CCS, and same thing with our cross country team. So we're going to go in order here with Aragon High School and their AHS volleyball team. They won its 4th CCS Division II championship in 5 years, defeating Woodside in 4 sets. Congrats to head coach Annette Nettie Gennaro Trimble and assistant coaches Diane Halaufia. I don't know if I said that, or I hope so. Yeah. As well as Jason Kwan and Melanie Halaufia and Christy Halaufia. And I'm going to hand it over to Coach Trimble to talk about the kids. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for having me. Good evening, everyone. I would just like to say this is an accomplishment, obviously, for our school. It's a back-to-back CCS Division II championship. I know last year I was here telling you how unique our team was, and this team is no different. We were able to win the championship with only 5 returning players off of last year's team. So we had a lot of rebuilding. My players did a fabulous job of learning what we wanted them to, teaching them a lot of life lessons as we went along. And I'm obviously looking forward to next year since I only had 6 seniors. But I have a couple here that are here, Cassie, Katie, and Kat over there kind of hiding. I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of what you've accomplished. It was a fabulous season. They were gritty. Some of those games I wasn't quite sure that we were going to win, came from behind. So I'm very impressed with them. My assistant coaches, Ame is here. Jason, Christy, and Deanne were invaluable to not only me, but I think also the players in supporting what we do. To be able to take that team and with my coaches, it's just been very special. I'd like to thank, before I go, just my principal Val and Steve Sell, my athletic director, their support throughout the year has been wonderful, and just being able to go to them and get what I need has been wonderful. So congratulations, Aragon.
Yeah, congratulations.
Okay, so what we're gonna do, because it's pretty crowded in here tonight, we're gonna recognize Burlingame High School volleyball next, and then Burlingame High School cross country. And then when we're done, what I'd like all the students and the coaches to do is exit this way, or if you're here, exit that way. We're gonna meet in the lobby to do some pictures, because it's just a little crowded here and tight here. So we'll take the pictures in the lobby. So next up is Burlingame High School volleyball. This is a season without a home court advantage due to the gymnasium construction, but it still resulted in the Burlingame High School Panthers capturing the CCS Division III championship in 4 sets over Sacred Heart Cathedral. Congrats to head coach Hannah Korsland, as well as assistant coaches Stephanie Lee, Parnell Pang, and Christy News. And I'm going to hand it over to Coach Korsland to talk about the kids. So congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us this evening. Just want to say a big congrats to my team. It was, again, a tough year without a gym, but they battled on the road all season long. So I'll just read their names from left to right if y'all want to wave so people know who's here. We have Kiara, Sam, Tori, Haley, Abby, Sophia K, Vanessa, Morgan, Maddie, Ava, Jordan, Jillian, and Sophia G. Congrats to them all. And this team really found a way to have fun all season. A lot of energy, a lot of singing, a lot of goofing around and having fun. And that was a big thing we tried to emulate this season. I also want to thank the other district schools that welcomed us for practicing and for hosting CCS games. Mills, Cappuccino, and San Mateo were all really gracious hosts for us. And I'm thankful to our admin team for helping arrange hosting for us for CCS and consistent practice locations. So congrats again, Panthers, and thanks to my assistant coaches, Christy and Parnell as well. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Can I just say that being principal of BIS, maybe next year you guys can come visit, and we have a nice new gym too for you guys. All right. All right.
Okay. Next is our Burlingame High School cross country team. They claimed the CCS Division III team title this past weekend, and the Panthers ran for 3 top 10 finishes. Big shout out to Coach Chris Coleman and Coach Steve O'Brien. And I'm going to hand it over to Coach Coleman to talk about the kids in the season. Yeah, congratulations.
Good evening, and thanks for having us here. First CCS championship as a team for cross country in Burlingame's history, so we're very, very proud of that. As head coach, I am standing here representing assistant coach Steve O'Brien, who was the architect and the main force behind this victory, and so we don't stand here without him. So I want to make sure that that's on record. I want to recognize our athletes that are all here. Elizabeth Carroll, please raise your hand. Cora Haggerty, Lily Comsey, Alora Haran, Ava Gonzalez, and Lauren Gonzalez, and Stella Newman. I got everybody right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yay.
Running is a very individual activity, and it's very hard to pull a team together in order to achieve this accomplishment against some of the perpetual winners in cross country and CCS and in our division. And what these individuals did was absolutely phenomenal. We are so proud of them. We thank our Burlingame staff, athletic department, and so on. But really want to give a hand to these individuals for their achievement. Well done, ladies.
Yeah.
Yay. Thank you.
So I'm going to excuse all the student athletes and coaches. Again, if you can come over into the lobby there, and we'll get some great pictures. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to hand it over to President Lamb.
All right, we're going to take just a minute to let everybody so that we can have public comment. I want it to be full attention. Okay, so which is yeah. I'm going to start with the comments so that, you know, my part's not that important right now. So if you're joining us in person and wish to make a comment about an agenda item during public comment section at the beginning of the agenda, please fill out a request to address the board form and submit it to the secretary. This form should be given to the secretary before the agenda item begins. If you are joining us virtually, you will use the raised hand feature on Zoom to be recognized. When invited to do so by the board president, for each item on which you wish to comment, you will be admitted to speak as a panelist during your public comment period. The board president will call on you. Please note that comments are limited to 3 minutes. The board president may increase or decrease the time allotted for public comment, depending upon the topic and numbers of persons wishing to be heard. I'm going to ask a favor if we can close the doors so that we can be a little bit more attentive. I know they're having a great time out there taking pictures, but I want to definitely have our meeting flow and we'd like to listen to public comment. So without further ado, we are going to start calling comment. I am going to apologize profusely if I say any names wrong. Please correct me and tell me your name so that we have it in the record and it's recorded correctly. And I apologize if I do not get the names right. So our first speaker is Mintat El Atma. I hope I did that right. Welcome.
Good evening. I am a constituent and I will begin with a quote. We are in love with the aesthetics of freedom, but not with the work needed in order for us to get free. A lot of us are not invested in the work. We are invested in how the work looks to other people. This district is just that, a district who knows how to give a performance to other people and to each other, performing opposition to injustice without actually being opposed to it. In 2020, the board adopted an anti-racism policy and adopted books on anti-racism without actually doing the internal and collective work of being anti-racist, of being anti-white supremacy, anti-colonialism, anti-hegemony, and anti-oppression. I understand that to you, these words mean so little because you not only benefit from these paradigms, I understand that by using words like anti-racism, you can feel like you've done your job, but in truth, you lack any real attachment to them and to the urgent work required to materialize them. You lack attachment because you lack consciousness and direct proximity to the immaterial conditions of these violences and the everyday life and death they create. Or else, why do we still have police on campus and police as a response to student mental health crises? Or else, why does Booker write callous emails urging educators to be apolitical and ahistorical, to not speak about the very truths and realities happening in Palestine, about the apartheid occupation of Palestine? It has not been 1 month, it has been a month and 75 years. Since 1948, Palestinians have been in pain of losing their home, their land, and their family, and have been brutally dehumanized for responding to that pain, to the dispossession, displacement, and genocide of their people, for responding to loss and grief. While Israel has white phosphorus and the ability to carpet bomb the land strip that extends from San Mateo to San Francisco, Palestinians have rocks. Palestinians have only had their land. A free Palestine means love for and the decolonization of the land, of the olive trees, and of the water. Palestine is freeing us from the hypocrisy of our language and our inaction. Palestine is freeing us from Western propaganda. Palestine is freeing us from bigoted silence and ignorance on peoples in struggle. Black America, Armenia, Congo, Sudan, Haiti, Hawaii, Tigray, Palestine, Philippines. We must speak about the people of the world, not only because our students resemble the world, but also because our students already belong in the world and must carry the world when we are gone too. And to clarify for everyone, as this word was alluded to in the first meeting of October, the Arabic word jihad means struggle. All Black and Indigenous peoples are in struggle against colonialism, against white supremacy, racism, oppression, capitalism, and prisons. I wish to also note that carcerality is not just physical cages, it's in the mind too, as well as the heart. That is, if you dare to break those chains that limit your consciousness, that limit your thinking, and limit your feeling. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just say something? Can
Yeah.
the speakers speak a little slower? Because we have our language interpreter and also the ASL interpreter. Please. Thank you.
Yeah, if you could see online, they were trying to go like this, which means to slow down if possible, because we're trying to translate.
Yeah.
Okay. The next speaker is, again, Ismar Kodrick. Ismar Kodrick. And if I said it wrong, please correct me.
Ismar Kadrich.
Kadrich.
Thank you, though.
Okay.
Good evening. Superintendent Booker, you issued a neutral statement caring for all students and faculty members. While I understand your intent to treat everyone equally, I want to make it clear that there is nothing neutral about an ongoing genocide. There is nothing neutral about 75 plus years of occupation. There is nothing neutral about one side having a fully funded army, fully backed by the US government, fully backed by all these occupational countries, and using that power to abuse, to oppress, and to kill and murder Palestinians. This did not just start on October 7th. This occupation of the Palestinian people has been ongoing, continuous. A fact that many will ignore and that many aren't taught in classrooms, which is a very important note. A lot of our students are exposed to propaganda. A lot of our students are exposed to what their parents tell them, to what they are told to learn and to listen to, but they don't have sometimes the freedom to think for themselves. And that's wrong. We need to change that. And we all have the privilege and power to change that. I am a product of refugee parents that escaped their own genocide in Bosnia in the 1990s, a genocide a lot of other people don't know about as well. I am privileged to be here. I am privileged to be someone that can actually stand here and speak on what's going on. But as for the 6,000 plus children that have been murdered, not including those under the rubble, 6,000. It is not just a number. It is not just a statistic. These are children. These are people, and they had lives, and they were stripped away. They haven't even gotten the chance, these children, to see a proper childhood, let alone go into a classroom and actually learn and be able to learn from teachers, to be able to use their voice, to be able to actually grasp knowledge in the way that they should be, that we all had the chance to, and we have had the chance to as we've grown up. They weren't able to hold a paper and pen and learn about what's going on in the world and the history. That's been stripped away. And the absolute least we can do is not let that happen to Palestinian students and faculty members here. And in the case of neutrality, not let that happen to any student. But I want to focus on Palestinian voices because their voices cannot be silenced, as they have been for many, many, many years, centuries, decades. They deserve the chance to speak against the oppression that plagues their people and to have their thoughts, feelings, emotions valued and respected. In this country, we want to make mental health a trend, but it's not a trend. It's real. And these people are ongoing in a traumatization, and it's not okay. This intimidation and this silencing that's being rained upon our Palestinian neighbors needs to end. And we have the power to protect them. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Elias Shamia.
Good evening. What I wanted to say about the situation in Palestine has already been said. What I wanted to do at this point is to give my support to the teaching staff, and in particular, Ms. Showman, who has the courage to express her opinion openly, as well as to have the courage to teach the children that she has about the injustice that is going on in Palestine at this time. Freedom of speech is embodied in our Constitution. It is a right that everyone has. It is a right that should be protected, and you have the responsibility as elected officials to protect that speech. You have the responsibility to make sure that the speech is not silenced if you do not agree with the ideas and the opinions that are expressed by this individual. She has the courage to be open to her students. She has the courage to be able to stand fast in light of the criticism that she has been receiving. And I understand that she has been under a lot of pressure in order to silence her. She should not be silenced. It is your responsibility to be able to give her the support that she needs in order for her to continue educating her students. The schools and universities should be an open forum, an exchange of ideas, an exchange of political views and opinions. It should not be a place where they should be suppressed because we don't like to have them heard. So therefore, I once again give my support to Ms. Showman and her ability to continue with her work. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Alyssa McQuade. I hope I said that right. Okay.
First of all, I want to acknowledge the previous speakers, and I hear the pain that other people have said before me, and I'm very concerned that my message may sound orthogonal, and I don't mean this to be hurtful at all to anybody here. But I came with a particular topic to talk about, and I still want to use my 2 minutes and 39 seconds there. But I hope everybody can hear me with open ears and open heart. My name is Alyssa McQuade. I'm the mother of a junior at Hillsdale High School, and I'm here to raise awareness of and ask for the board to take action on anti-Semitism. Since October 7th, the Anti-Defamation League has tracked a 400% increase in anti-Semitic incidents in our nation. Our schools are not immune to acts of hate and intimidation. Just since October 7th, the likes of swastikas have been found painted on the grounds of Woodside High School. Berkeley High School students have been subjected to chants of "kill the Jews," and I'm quoting. A sixth grader at Burlingame Intermediate was accosted by a group of other students, insulting him for being Jewish and claiming that Hamas are not to blame, they're freedom fighters and Jews suck. And at Bowditch Middle School, just over the river or over the water, at Bowditch Middle School, there have been at least 2 incidents of Jewish students being given the Heil Hitler salute. And then a quick history lesson before my final 2 examples, where teachers were the perpetrators of intimidating messaging for our Jewish students. The term Free Palestine is short for Free Palestine from the river to the sea, that being the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea. This is the land that Israel currently takes up. So that particular statement calls for the destruction of Israel and the annihilation of the Jewish people. It's threatening at best to your Jewish friends. And it's threatening and intimidating when they hear it coming from teachers. There are 2 recent examples where Michael Dunn, a Burlingame High School biology teacher, posted Free Palestine posters in his schoolroom, and multiple escalations took to take those signs down. And it was intimidating with Candace Thomas, a Mills High School ethnic studies teacher, exclaimed Free Palestine in this very forum. Our Jewish friends here feel intimidated and threatened by those words. And these are considered, in my opinion, more acts of anti-Semitism. Our school should be a place where students of all backgrounds can feel safe. If they don't feel safe, they can't learn. And so I'm here to ask the board to take a firm stance. First, enforce a zero tolerance policy for any and all acts of hate on our campuses. You have an obligation to investigate and report all acts and all of these and act on them decisively. Next, ensure that our educators are not infusing personal political beliefs in the classroom. And lastly, wherever you see the opportunity, ensure that support resources and escalation channels are known and made available to our students so they can take action themselves.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sam Hindi. Sam. No. I'm sorry. No, you're out of order.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. This is public comment, and I will call up to the podium who's going to be talking. Sorry. It's just a rule that we have in
Right,
California.
but Candace Thomas was not allowed that time. She was constantly being abrupted.
It gavelled to not.
We gave her the amount of time.
I know.
Silently
I'm not calling,
and patiently.
I'm going to have to ask that you not speak right now. I've called the next speaker to come up. The next speaker, if you'd like to talk again, put your name on this list and get one more, and you can answer that. I'm
Good
sorry,
evening.
Sam. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, President Land, Vice President Andrade Zionga, board members, Superintendent Booker, and staff. My name is Sam Hindi. I'm a council member in Foster City. Thank you for your service and for all you do for our students and community. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening. While I'm not representing the City Council of Foster City or the City of Foster City here, I am representing thousands of our community members, hundreds of whom have reached to me directly. And really, they have expressed their concerns about the safety of their children after the October 12th board meeting. We are concerned and stunned about the comments directed at Superintendent Booker and the board, and even a teacher. We think the Superintendent Booker's statement was well balanced. And most importantly, it did not get into foreign politics and focused on the well-being of the students and faculty in the district as it should. It is disheartening that this empathy for Gazans was misrepresented by some public commentators as anti-Semitic. Let me remind you that empathy for one group does not equal hate for another. Do I need to say we are all humans? I think it's obvious. We have all seen the horrific images from Gaza and the numbers of civilians casualty, including children. The displacement of more than 1 million people from their homes with no roof over their head today. Am I supposed to ask you to condemn these atrocities? No, I won't, because it is not in your purview. The children, the students are in your purview, and that's where your focus should be. I'm sure as individuals, you have your own personal views. I have mine own as well, and everybody here does. But you, as board members, as superintendents, you need to focus on the well-being of all your students, not getting into politics. While you cannot control what is happening in Israel and Gaza, you can control what happens on your campuses. Please ensure that all students feel safe while they are at school. Anti-Semitism and Islamophobia are on the rise more than 200% since October 7th. Both communities are affected, not just one, and neither should be tolerated. I encourage you to take a zero-tolerance approach on all forms of racism. I encourage you to provide extra counseling resources for any student affected by this conflict. Healing circles, respectful discussions, acts of solidarity and peace. Help them lead the way to a better future for all of us.
Thank you.
If I may just...
One more
only. We are appalled by the disrespectful and unfair reaction to Ms. Thomas' comments. She offered empathy to her Jewish and Palestinian students, and I quote, "I have Jewish students, I have Palestinian students, I want all of them to feel safe." That's exactly what she said. To be labeled anti-Semitic is appalling. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker is Gan Shamia. I hope I got that right. Please correct me again.
No, thank you. Good evening. My name is Gan Shamia, and I am a proud product of San Mateo Unified School District, from elementary school all the way through high school. And I stand before you, a proud product of that. But I also stand before you a little concerned. When I was in high school, I started a club, as we all encourage students to do. As part of my initiative, I brought a speaker by the name of Yuri Davis, who is a Jewish man who speaks on behalf of human rights of Palestinians, as well as human rights of others. This was organized and approved and went through the chain of command, set up. The assembly room was set up. Hundreds of students were going to attend with their teachers. The day of the event, I learned that due to complaints from a handful of parents and students, that this event was going to be canceled. And we're talking about in this school district. Then the compromise was, okay, let's hold it in a smaller classroom, maybe half the size of this hall. But that wasn't the agreement. We were going to have hundreds of students listen to this distinguished intellectual speak about human rights, a Jewish man to speak about human rights. It ended up that he was asked to leave campus before he can address a single student. Embarrassingly and ashamed, I had to escort this dignified man off campus because people were scared of what he had to say in this school district. It is teachers like Ms. Shoman, It is teachers like Julie Habib. It is teachers like them who make students like me feel safe. It is teachers like them that allow students with different viewpoints, that allow students that want to exercise their activism and bring viewpoints to the school. It is teachers like them that allow us to feel safe in this school. Without teachers like them, students like me would not be where I am today, a proud immigration attorney fighting for the rights of the undocumented and for the underprivileged. It is because of teachers like them that I do what I do every single day. And it saddens me that teachers like them do not get the support, the backing from the school district and from the leaders in this room and otherwise, because I didn't when I was a student in this school district. So I sure hope that we've learned something in those years between when I was a student at Cappuccino to where we are today. And I hope that we stand and support our teachers and defend their rights to educate our students, because that's what we trust them to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Gan Shamia.
I don't know what to say after this. I think that's very eloquent, to be truthful. Every time we say the Pledge of Allegiance, I always think of the last words, with justice and liberty for all. And I always wonder, where does that apply to the Palestinian people? Where does it apply? It applies to everybody else, but it does not apply to the Palestinian people. And I don't want to make this a political discussion, because this is probably not the forum for it. And I agree with Sam when he says this is about education. But I do want to commend the superintendent for having the courage, if you will, to come out with a statement that cares about both sides. I mean, it's not the statement I would put out myself, because there's justice, there's occupation of Palestine, there's dehumanization of Palestinians, there's mass murder of Palestinians, but I understand his position, and I commend that. But then pressure go on, and there's the email that goes out that recognizes the one side of the issue and not really recognize the second. And I'm here to say that there's a large community here that doesn't really show up to meetings, but we are here. We have children that attend schools here. We have children that are harassed in schools because of their religion, because of their ethnic background. And it is your duty, as the young lady said, she was afraid about anti-Semitism. Our children are afraid of from racism and Islamophobia. And therefore, it is your duty to protect both, not one, but both. And this is really something that I just wanted to say. The second point that I want to raise is that when my children went to school in the San Mateo School District, we did not have a single person that looked like them or spoke the language or the culture that they spoke. School life was alien to them. And to have somebody like Ms. Showman be present and hired by this district as a teacher, this is a humongous relief for this community. Somebody that actually can look like us and talk like this community and be able to teach children and be able to relate to our children is something that's really fantastic from this school district. Do not let that go. This is important progress. Please build on it. Don't demolish it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm actually looking at online. We're going to take a few online as well. I'm going to try to balance it a little bit. So can we call the next speaker that is online, please? Do we have a name?
Alina Shaw.
Alina Shaw. While we're waiting for that speaker to come on, just a reminder, since this is not an agendized item, as part of the Brown Act, we are not allowed to address directly. We might be able to do it during our public comment time that we have, that's part of our meeting, but we are not allowed to directly address anything that you have said. We are honoring what you're talking and everybody's comments, but we can't make a statement towards it in one way or the other. I'm calling on individual speakers for 3 minutes, and I'm going to keep doing that. Okay, so Alina Shaw, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, thank you. Before we start, would we be able to get us an extension just because there's 2 of us talking?
What would happen is I will call, we come back in or rename yourself, and we'll let the next person speak. You'll have 3 minutes, and then he can have 3 minutes later.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you to the board for allowing us to speak during public comment. I am Alina Shaw, a senior at San Mateo High School, and I am also here with the San Mateo County Youth Commission's Environmental Justice Subcommittee as the chair, but this is not representative of the whole commission. As passionate students who are advocating for a healthy planet and future, we are requesting to be agendized for the January 18th board meeting to present and discuss our project and regulation at SMUHSD to replace plastic foodware with either biodegradable foodware or reusable foodware. Now I'll pass it over to Matthew Lau, who will explain more about our project.
Hey everyone, I'm Matthew Lau, a junior at Aragon High School, and I am the vice chair of the Youth Commission's Environmental Justice Subcommittee. And again, this is not representative of the Youth Commission. This year, one of our subcommittee's goals is to reduce waste in SMUHSD schools. And so we would like to propose a regulation to replace plastic foodware with either biodegradable foodware or reusable foodware. As a student who receives brunch and lunch daily from my school's cafeteria services, I and so many other students are concerned about the amount of plastic waste being used and discarded at schools throughout the district. The majority of students in our district schools receive free brunch and lunch. That's around 9,000 students using the foodware daily, plus it's doubled for brunch and lunch. Personally, this plastic waste issue has been on my mind since freshman year, being pretty frustrated with all the plastic being used for around 30 minutes and then completely discarded, usually in the wrong bin. Using plastic for foodware is a major health concern both for our planet and people. Plastic waste is not only a big issue regarding climate change, but it's also one of the most attainable ways we as regular people, especially us students, can actively change in order to mitigate the effects of climate change. Just 2 days ago, the National Climate Assessment declared that there is no place safe in the US regarding climate change. Action to address climate change must be taken out, or else, just like how we avoid doing homework until the last minute, it will build up until the breaking point. Currently, our subcommittee is drafting a regulation that will address replacing plastic foodware that we plan to formally present to the board at the January meeting. Now I'll pass it back to Alina, who will explain more.
So our regulation of replacing plastic foodware will either phase into biodegradable or reusable foodware over time. It will not be an immediate implementation, but will work with district guidelines to ensure plastic waste is reduced as soon as possible. The regulation will also introduce a proposal for waste sorting at SMUHSD in order to properly sort waste into separate bins. The SMUHSD has taken significant steps in addressing climate change, much of which to be celebrated, but we think that the district can definitely be doing more. Foodware is used by all students every day, so changing our foodware to biodegradables is just a small fix, which would have an extremely large impact. We humbly request to be agendized for the January 18th board meeting to present and discuss our project and regulation to replace plastic foodware at SMUHSD. We hope to connect before that date, and we will send a follow-up email containing our letter and regulation to the board. Thank you so much for your time, and we are looking forward to hearing back.
Thank you. For the record, if we wanted something agendized, one of the board members may bring it up at the end of our meeting, and that might be part of what we do. So if you want to hang in there, you might hear something. All right. Okay. Let's have another one from online. How many speakers do we have online? Okay, I'm going to take about 10 and then come back in person, and then we're going to switch back and forth.
And just remember to talk slowly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Rema Asia, we're now promoting it.
And that you only have 3 minutes. I've been going a little over, but I've been about the same with everybody. So.
You may unmute and begin.
Hello.
Hi, Rena.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go for it.
Awesome. All right. Hello. Dear members and school board, My name is Rema Asia, and I am a proud Muslim Palestinian member of this community, serving as an English teacher at Burlingame High School. In the past 40 days, I have had a countless number of Muslim and Palestinian students visit my classroom, seeking support in a safe space to speak their thoughts. And in those conversations, they frequently shared the following main sentiments with me. The first is that our Palestinian students struggle to go about their day because they have family in Palestine and constantly fear for their lives, and because they are also experiencing, yet again, secondary trauma from witnessing the lifeless bodies and the forceful displacement of our people. Second, Palestinian students feel alienated and unsafe as US news agencies spew hateful Islamophobic ideas, which definitely have played a huge role in increasing the hate crimes that our communities are experiencing. Third, Palestinian students wish that educators would teach more about the Palestinian experience in their classrooms, as they know how powerful of a role that will play in creating more peace and understanding and empathy among all communities. And lastly, Palestinian students feel silenced as they fear that sharing their thoughts that we deserve basic human rights like freedom will be falsely labeled anti-Semitic by their classmates, by their schools, and even this district. We are humans, we deserve freedom. It's a basic human right, and I don't think I should have to repeat that. Ultimately though, although I am honored to be a trusted confidant for these students, it deeply troubles me that they generally don't feel safe in our communities and that we're not recognizing their feelings, their experiences, and the hardships that they're going through. As educators, it is our responsibility to prioritize the needs of all students. Regrettably, we have observed that the safety and well-being of our Palestinian students often take a backseat to the concerns of others, when they should really completely be equal. We should care about all students and not prioritize some students' needs over others. And ultimately, I am compelled to address this issue and urge the district to do the same by committing to meaningful action. It is imperative that we model courage and establish truly inclusive environments for everyone in our community and not just a few. And I really want to reiterate that, for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Osman, you may unmute and begin.
Hello.
Okay.
I want to share. Can you hear me?
Yes, you may begin.
Hello. I want to share that Arab Muslim kids feel intimidated to speak or express themselves. Some Arab kids had their whole extended family members killed in Gaza by the barbaric attacks on civilians. And then they got suspended because they say free Palestine. Jesus asking to be free from oppression, from illegal settlements, free from apartheid. No one should be intimidated with the word free Palestine. And sorry, we will keep saying it until all Palestinians have the rights as a humans to have a clean water, to have the rights to build houses, and to move in and out freely. I personally don't feel safe going in parks because I have a head cover and I look like an Arab Muslim. My friend were out with her kids, and they were followed by people shouted inappropriate expletive comments. They had to call 911 actually. Not a single hate crime happened since October 7th, except against Arab Muslims. We have more than 5 hate crimes around the states, and nothing worse than killing 6-year-old Palestinian American boy in Illinois. We cannot compare these incidents to anything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shirley Asgeir, you may unmute and begin.
Hi, thank you for having me. I want to say I'm a parent within the San Mateo High School District, and it's, as a Palestinian American, it's been really hard to be a parent right now and see that our kids are being neglected by the schools within the district, being completely ignored. Our children are aware that there is a genocide against their people happening. They know what genocide means because in your DEI curriculum, you have taught them, which is great. I really question, though, what is the goal of our diversity, equity, and inclusion curriculums if we're not going to use that knowledge to do better? I heard the mother come on talking about anti-Semitism, and I teach my kids to not discriminate against anyone and to accept and love everyone. However, I'm concerned that she's not so much talking about anti-Semitism as much as she's talking about anti-Zionism. And those are two really different things. And I think that this is part of the fault of the school system for not educating our children. Perhaps there would be less confusion and more understanding and more working together if we clarified what the difference is between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. Anti-Semitism is hate against Jewish people for their religion, and it's absolutely disgusting and shouldn't be accepted. However, anti-Zionism is being against an ideology that is racist and genocidal, that does not acknowledge the existence of the Palestinian people, never did acknowledge their existence on their indigenous land, and is being used to justify actions like we see in Gaza, where they are cutting off water, food, electricity, fuel. I mean, there are babies who had to leave their incubators and be wrapped up in foil because the electricity has been cut off. I mean, what we are seeing is disgusting. And our children see it, and they see that our teachers aren't allowed to talk about it. Nobody is addressing their mental health. We are really failing our kids. And I think if we want to have a better community, a more understanding community, a community where everybody respects each other, then we need to start really educating. What, if anything, October 7th should have shown the district that Palestine is not something you can ignore, that this issue is not something you can ignore. And we need to start teaching kids the facts. All major human rights organizations, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, Beit Tselem, an Israeli human rights organization, have acknowledged that there is apartheid, that these occupations are illegal. All of this happening under the Israeli government. Why aren't we just teaching the facts? Perhaps if we did this, we wouldn't have ignorant parents coming on here talking about free Palestine being a threatening term. If somebody's freedom is threatening to you, you should really question yourself. If to see another people free is scary to you, then I question.
I understand. Can you finish your thought?
So my thought is, can we start actually acknowledging Palestinian students and their pain, and maybe teaching some truth in the schools and incorporating the Palestinian perspective into diversity, equity, and inclusion programs?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next. Thank you. Next speaker.
Brittney Redgate, you may unmute and begin.
Hi, my name is Brittney Redgate, and I'm an educator in this district. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, no problem. You're doing good. Go ahead.
I planned on speaking in public comments 2 weeks ago, but I was told by a handful of people that this really isn't the space for productive discourse around the topic of Palestine and Israel. However, I have yet to understand where the space for this discourse exists in our organization. Where exactly, as an organization, are we talking about it? How exactly are we together trying to figure out how to approach this within our community? All I've heard and all I've felt is silence. And as an educator in this district, I've watched that silence do an incredible amount of harm to our community. So I'm here to surface this need again and to ask for your energy and support in addressing it. 4 weeks ago and tonight, I hear a call from the community to educate young people. I'm here to ask, how are we doing that as an institution? How are we equipping young people with the knowledge of history to help them contextualize the horrors that they are witnessing? What committees, what resources are needed to inform this history? It seems that many of those voices are in this room right now. What silenced and censored narratives do we need to resurface in order to cultivate a critical consciousness? And when young people are empowered by that knowledge, how are we supporting them in speaking out against injustice? How are we protecting teachers who are stepping into this history with courage? How are we creating the conditions and the structures to make sure that we learn from this history, that never again means never again for anyone? And 4 weeks ago and tonight, I hear a desperate need to protect our students and to create spaces where we can help them process their trauma. I ask, how are we doing that as an institution? Our wellness counselors were already overwhelmed, and I'm watching my students suffer. And it's not because of what is said or done to them, it's because of what is not said and what is not done. How are we doing the necessary work of helping them talk about their fears, of helping them process the very unique trauma that comes with bearing witness to such horror, and as well as witnessing the very surreal apathy of those who turn away from it, from the horror of silence? How are we creating intentional, responsive communities of care to support one another when we are processing such deep emotional trauma? I'm here to ask ourselves that we ask ourselves what is required to heal. And the first requirement of healing is that we turn towards the problem, turn towards the fear, turn towards the messiness, and engage. As an educational collective, we have an obligation to turn towards the suffering, to turn towards this genocide, and to make sure that we are talking about it, processing it, learning about the causes of it, in order to heal and to rebuild and to imagine new ways of being with 9,000 young humans. Thank you.
Thank you. We've had 5 so far. Can we have two more? And then I'm going to go back into in-person and we'll go back and forth. Okay. Who's next online?
Christina Harp.
Christina, are you there?
Yeah, hi. Sorry.
Okay, you have 3 minutes when you start.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for giving me the chance to speak. My name is Christina. I'm a teacher in Berkeley, and I'm here to support Samia Shoman. The work that she's doing in the work of liberation in her classroom is really amazing and brave, and your district is extremely privileged and lucky to have a teacher as courageous as she is. She, just like many brave people in this country, are being attacked for doing the really important work of teaching our students history that has been silenced for decades. She is courageous and she is teaching her students to have courage. I wish I had a teacher like her when I was a kid, and I hope to be more like her in my work. As a Palestinian in the United States, I never learned anything about my history from school. Everything I know about Palestinian history comes from oral history. It comes from being passed down from my grandparents. And so if my grandparents hadn't told me that they were violently bombed in 1948 and pushed out of their homes, I wouldn't have known, because in this country, no one ever tells us this, right? I wouldn't have known that in 1967, my father's family felt that they needed to leave because they had become forced to live under military occupation. So teaching this history in multiple perspectives, critical thinking, and uplifting the voices of oppressed people does not make people unsafe. People who come to you asking you to silence pro-Palestinian voices are the people who are making us unsafe. Silence on your part is complicity, and anyone who wants us to be silent does not see our humanity. I do want to acknowledge anti-Semitism is real, and it has become an issue in this country in the recent rise of right-wing conservatives and white supremacy. But anti-Semitism is not a part of the pro-Palestine movement. It never has been. Anti-Semitism does not come from Palestine. It comes from Europe. Anti-Semitism in Europe is the reason Israel exists in the first place. And when we talk about pro-Palestine, we are actually talking about anti-Zionism. It is anti a political ideology. And we are standing up against a political ideology that basically says that in order for the people of Israel to be safe, the people of Palestine cannot be safe. And we have to make this distinction that when we criticize an oppressive regime, the oppressive regime of Israel, it has nothing to do with criticizing Jewish people. It's actually anti-Semitic to think that every Jewish person is represented by the Israeli government, and that when we attack the Israeli government, we're attacking all Jewish people. This is dehumanizing even to Jewish people. When we call for freedom and we are told that we are hateful, that is dehumanizing and racist. And you need to support your teachers who are teaching about this.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Salam, you may unmute and begin.
Good evening. My name is Salam, and I don't think I could say it better than Christina Harb just did. That was wonderful, and it's great to hear from an educator. I'd like to say thank you to the board and the superintendent. I know that your jobs are difficult, and we thank you for your service. As a Palestinian member of the community, I have to say that the students in your district are so lucky to have teachers like Miss Samia Shoman, who give voice to Palestinians. You know, when the first Nakba, that's the catastrophe, happened to Palestinians in 1948, and I say the first because we're witnessing the second, at least right now, the mantra of the Zionist entity was said, you know, the Palestinians, the old will die and the young will forget. Well, to have a teacher at your school who keeps the voice of the Palestinians alive for the Palestinian students she's teaching, but also for the students who are learning ethnic studies at your school is a gift and a blessing. And we should be thanking our lucky stars for teachers like her and the others who have been mentioned today. Saying free Palestine is not anti-Semitic. We deserve liberation just like every other people. We deserve to be have our dignity and have self-determination. And that's why we say free Palestine. And to say that that is anti-Semitic is a way to purposefully confuse the matter, to make it out that anybody who criticizes the state of Israel is anti-Semitic. And I really commend this board for not allowing that obfuscation to cloud the way you teach your students. I'll yield my time because I know there's a lot of other people who want to speak. Thanks for hearing me out.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to go back to our list in person. We still have quite a few speakers. I am going to keep it at 3 minutes. I know that might make the long meeting, but I'm going to keep going. Salah Akbak.
Salah Al-Bakri, thank you.
I'm
Listen,
sorry.
No worry, it's all good. I'm here to thank you guys for a difficult job. May God continue to bless you, all of you. I've read your statement and I was very pleased. Not much because, I mean, I would have written a little warmer statement, the initial one. The reason being is, you know, my entire extended family was perished in the very first week of bombing. But I'm not here to complain to you about that. That is not your job. Your job is not to set foreign policy, but to ensure that our kids are learning the entire truth, not piece of the truth. As somebody who works in nonprofits, I have students who belong to this school districts as many others. And this is what I'm so terrified and I really want to speak to you about. I am feeling that there is a new culture of silencing that's pervading our schools. And why do I tell you that? Because I have quite a few school principals who called in Yemeni students, Afghani students, Arabic students to the principal's office. And it's surprisingly, it happened within the span of the last week, and it happened in more than one school district, including this one. They were called because they expressed their feelings of empathy the night before on a social platform. And they were told that somebody called the school and claimed that their kids are feeling unsafe as a result. Unsafe over a statement. So we're going into that road, and I really want you to start thinking seriously. We have a responsibility to protect these kids, and we need to, and we must too. So please, thank you for not wading to the immense pressure that you've seen. I was very disheartened. I couldn't even listen more than 15 minutes to the comments that were said on the 12th. They were very straightforward, insulting to you, Randall, and that offended me personally. I want to tell you, as a Palestinian, we still don't have an equal platform like all the others have saying. We've definitely, I was raised in a neighborhood that had all three religions. Actually, 1/3 of the people who spoke today are not Muslim, but they're either Christian. This is a multicultural place. This is a place that has, what really scares me is this culture of intense silencing. And hence I want to thank you one more time for leading the way in ethnic studies. And I really want to second every other speaker who spoke about ethnic study and necessity to enrich it. We really need to enrich it. Please keep this a safe environment for our students. God bless you all. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next speaker in person is Abir Alafifi. I hope I got that right. Please correct me.
Abir Lafihi.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board of Education and District Leader. My name is Abir. My son is a senior in this district. And I've had other three children that also graduated from this district. I'm also an educator myself. The past 40 days has been an unbearable time for my family and for my community. And I am saddened that the current situation is not being addressed in my son's school. As a graduate senior, I hope that my son will have the skill to engage in civil discourse, feel empathy for all people who experience suffering in the world, regardless of religion, ethnicity, or race. For all human, Unfortunately, time and time, it seems as if Palestinians' lives are not treated as equal to all others. In my family, the value of respect, empathy, and love are centered. They are core tenet of our religion. I hope that the district finds a way to prepare their educators to address what's happening instead of fearing the backlash if they did. I watched the attacks of the ethics studies because its coordinator is Palestinian, and it seems like this put a chilling effect on all teachers with respect to wanting to address Palestine. All students deserve to feel seen, valued, and understood. This is what I want for my son and for all others. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Kareem Dargis.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Greetings, guys. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm a Lebanese American from a Muslim family, and I went to school here in the Bay Area. Something that I noticed that's made me quite unhappy and feel the need to talk about is that Arabs and Muslims have not been given the human dignity and recognition that all humans deserve. A lot of topics we've not seen in the curriculum, things like the golden age of Islam, how Islam has contributed to society in many different topics, science, math. And in regards to the current conflict in the Middle East, we haven't talked about the Nakba, the mass exile of the Arabs. This has not been talked about. And going on to now in the war, there's been a number of 6,000 children killed. And still the mainstream media here has been only giving a one-sided argument. They say one thing, it's how do we end the fight against Hamas? How do we beat Hamas? What they don't talk about is that it's a greater issue than just Hamas and Israel. It's the Palestinian resistance. So with that, I just implore you guys to do two things. One, update their school curriculum. Give the Arabs the recognition they deserve, because this is important for the safety and protection of humans and for human dignity. Second, as you're going to take measures to protect the Jewish community, as said by anti-Semitism, about that, please do the same with Islam. A lot of Americans do not know that Arabs are also Semites, because the school curriculum does not tell us correctly. So if they knew that, they would know that anti-Semitism is really hate against Jews and Arabs. So going forward, please correct this. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker in person is Maya Falaha. Falaha? I'm sorry. Please correct me.
Good evening. My name is Maya Falaha, and I'm here today on behalf of the Muslim Community Association of the Peninsula, Yassin Foundation. Yassin Foundation, our commitment revolves around the slogan, building a better future for our children, as we strive to work together to create and foster a sense of unity and understanding in our community. We thank Superintendent Booker and the board for initially maintaining neutrality and issuing a balanced statement the first time around. We understand the pressure to modify the original statement, yet strongly urge you to continue to prioritize the needs of all students to ensure they rightfully feel safe and have a sense of belonging on your campuses. In light of the ongoing crisis between Israel and Gaza, various Muslim and Arab civil rights organizations report an alarming increase in anti-Arab and anti-Muslim hate incidents, reminiscent of the post-9/11 era. Similarly, Jewish organizations note a surge in anti-Semitic incidents. All faiths share the fundamental golden rule of treating others as we would like to be treated. While you cannot control geopolitics, you can control what happens at your schools. Please ensure that all students feel safe and included. We need to unite against Islamophobia, racism, and anti-Semitism. We ask the board to take a zero-tolerance approach to any hate speech and all forms of racism. The focus should remain on our children's needs, and we encourage the allocation of additional counseling resources for students affected by this conflict so that they can process the trauma and heal. Schools must be spaces where understanding and respect build bridges across ethnic and religious divides. Lastly, we commend the board for leading the state in teaching ethnic studies, an essential component of education that allows all students to feel seen. And we urge you to protect teachers like Ms. Schumann and Ms. Thomas from any intimidation and silencing. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go back on to online. So who's our next speaker?
Okay, the initials RSP. You can unmute and begin, please.
Hi, my name is Ram Patel. There's a lot of misinformation and propaganda being said. Jews, like my family, have been in Israel and surrounding countries for over 3,500 years. We are indigenous to the land of Israel. In fact, the majority of Jews living in Israel are indigenous Jews. Don't forget, as I mentioned on the 12th, that Jesus lived and died in Israel as a Jew. A lot of people talk about genocide. In 1948, there are around 700,000 Arabs in Israel. Today, there are 5.3 million Palestinian and Israeli Arabs. So if that's a genocide, then Israel is doing a horrible job. People talk about apartheid. 20% of Israel's citizens are Israeli Arabs. There's Israeli Arab in the parliament, in the Supreme Court. There are doctors, nurses, board of major banks. They study in major universities. No prejudice whatsoever. Some of them even serve in the army if they choose to. While in Jordan, there are 80% Palestinians and they have no right whatsoever there. Everybody talks about occupation. Israel has pulled out of in Gaza in 2005, 18 years ago. The Palestinians received billions of dollars and could have built paradise over there, but instead they built over 3,200 miles of tunnels, 5-story underground of terrorist hub. They bought them munition, explosive. Israel built them pipes of water infrastructure. They removed the pipes and created missiles out of them. They're hoarding all of the fuel, under the hospitals. Israel is not a colonizing country, as people are saying. Again,
Okay, order.
Let them finish.
Thank you. Jews
And I need them.
Thank you. Jews are indigenous to the land.
Let's please.
Every land survey from the 1800s showed that there were barely any Arabs there. In 1867, Mark Twain made his visit to Israel, and he wrote that Palestine in reality was a village so small he could circle it. He counted less than 10 families of Muslims. Now, Muslims did move there, no doubt about it. When Israel purchased the land from the Ottoman Empire, a lot of attraction came and people came. So Hindi, came from India. Misri came from Egypt. Halabi came from Halab in Syria, and so on. So that's where the last name reflects where they're coming from. Israel just trying to eliminate Hamas in order to free the Palestinian people from the evil of Hamas. Why doesn't Egypt block the Palestinians from entering into their land? Israel is not trying to kill any innocent Palestinians. They're doing what's necessary to protect the citizen. Let me just finish by one sentence. Thank you.
Finish your one thought. Sorry.
As President Biden said, like every nation in the world, Israel has the right to respond. Indeed, it has a duty to respond to these vicious attacks. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, the next speaker is going to be who? Online?
Celine Perry, you may unmute and begin.
Celine Perry, are you there?
Hi.
Hi.
I am here. Hi. I am Celine and I teach at Burlingame High. I teach Italian and I am Miss Rema Asia's neighbor in our classrooms. I didn't plan to speak, so pardon me if my thoughts are a little all over the place, but I have some things I'd like to clarify and express on the behalf of myself, and I know many educators like me. First of all, I think the idea of a school as an apolitical space is deeply dangerous. I was born and raised in Singapore. And if you know anything about it, you'll know that it's an extremely, it's a benign authoritarian state where censorship is just part and parcel of our culture. And what I feel right now is akin to life there, which I never expected to feel in this district that I'm so proud and so happy to be part of. I see the suppression of dissenting voices, and I also witness an unwillingness to communicate, to listen. This has been really frustrating because as an outsider to the situation, I'm neither Arab nor Jewish, but I'm watching these heated, painful discussions happening, but all I see is everything you have in common. And that is, you are fearful for your children, you want them to have better lives, and you want the killing to stop. I also want to point out that Mike Dunn from my district, from my school, who was labeled an anti-Semite, is himself a Jew, a Jewish man. He has family who's married to Palestinian people. He has family whose children are in the IDF. He's the most qualified person, if there is one, to have an opinion on this. And I think it's a shame that he has been deplatformed because there are some disagreements on the term Free Palestine. Finally, I want to call out our week Unite Against Hate next week, which is at least a school-wide, if not district-wide, initiative to unite against hate, whatever that means. It seeks to address implicit bias and find ways to bring inclusivity and I'm not sure what other vague language it uses. But my point is this: our students are more intelligent than you know, and there is no way to stop anti-Semitism or Islamophobia if we don't name it. I fear for the future of my students because I care about them, and that's why I go to work every single day. Thank you.
Thank you. One more online.
Candace Thomas, you can unmute and begin.
Candace, can you hear us? Oh, there you go.
Hi, my name is Candace Thomas, and I just tonight want to uplift my Palestinian students at Mills High School. They planned a protest in about 2 days and brought together most of our Palestinian students, and they protested during flex time. And it was so beautiful, and they had these speeches, and I'm just sorry, my phone. I'm just so proud of them, and they refuse to be silent. whatsoever. They refuse to sit down. They are always looking for opportunities to have their voices heard. And I'm just so proud of them. And I remember the first time I became an activist. Like, I went from politically apathetic to politically like active. And it was when I saw Mike Brown's dead body in the street on the news. And I see that happening now to so many of my students, not just my Palestinian students, but to other students who are getting on social media and they're seeing what's happening. And they're speaking out, and they are saying something, and they will not be silenced. I also want to say, parents, please keep putting pressure on the board and our superintendent. There's a reason why teachers are not covering what is happening in Israel and Palestine. We are afraid for our jobs and our livelihood. And so there are a lot of teachers who, you've accurately said, want to teach this, want to teach it from as objective, neutral, include both perspectives as possible. But teachers in our district have been disciplined for doing so, or even showing support for Palestine in any way, or we have seen just for being Palestinian. And so I really encourage you, like our board, our superintendent, they listen to our parents. And so please continue to advocate for a change in the curriculum and advocate for teachers having to teach about Israel and Palestine so our community can be educated on this manner. I also want to thank Mr. Booker and my principal. After what happened a few weeks ago, there was a concern for my safety and my mental well-being, and they both looked out for me, and I super appreciate that, and for them having conversations with me and making sure I was okay. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to take one more online, and then we're going to go back in person. We still have many speakers to go, so please indulge our patience. Your patience, our patience, everything. Who's our next speaker? Uh-oh.
Zena, you may unmute and begin.
All right, Zena.
Oh, perfect. Hi. Nelson Mandela, someone every single one of us is taught about, said, "We know all too well that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinians." Today, hundreds of Jewish students at Harvard stood up for Palestinian rights. And every single day, thousands of Jewish and Israeli members of our community are fighting for the rights of Palestinians. The UN, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, Beit Salim, and Israeli organization have all called Israel an apartheid state. Former Speaker of the Israeli Parliament, Avram Berg, and over 1,500 academics wrote a letter in August, before October 7th, calling Israel an apartheid state. Also, per a comment that was brought up before, according to Human Rights Watch, there are over 65 laws in Israel that discriminate against Arab Israelis. To say that standing up for the rights of Palestinians and saying free Palestine is anti-Semitic goes against every single one of our values as Americans and creates an unsafe environment for our students and our communities as a whole. And to put it in context, as many of us know, over 11,470 Palestinians have died in Gaza since October 7th. 5,500 of those were children that aren't in school in San Mateo because of their circumstances. The reality of the situation is that every single one of us isn't in their situation because of sheer circumstance. Standing up for Palestinian rights is standing up for human rights. We should be doing that every day, and to not stand up for Palestinian rights is to believe that all humans are equal, is to not believe that all humans are equal and that all people deserve to be safe. Schools are meant to be a safe place, and to be a safe place, we must respect every single one of our students and our teachers. While I believe that each one of us should be saying free Palestine, at a minimum, we should be commending the superintendent, board, and Shamia Shaman and every other teacher that's standing up and being on the right side of history for creating a safe environment for all. Also, RSP, please in the future have the confidence to write your real name and free Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go back into person. So Syed Hussein, is the next speaker. And again, I hope I said the name right.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. As a parent of two kids, I want to thank Superintendent Booker for some of the statements we made. It was disappointing that some of his empathy for Gazan was misrepresented as being hateful. Empathy for one group does not equal hate for another. One-sided statements result in dehumanization, which results, as we have seen, the horrific murder of 6-year-old Wadi al-Fayoum, Palestinian American Muslim, who was killed by his landlord in Chicago. A landlord who used to play with him but was influenced by the dehumanization campaign and killed him by stabbing him 26 times. Imagine the hate. Close to home, we had a student run over at Stanford just because he was wearing a shirt with some Arabic words. While he was recovering in hospital, a vicious campaign was launched against him to discredit him. There are so many anti-Muslim, anti-Arab, Islamophobic hate, highly underreported because the community is afraid to report. We are not feeling safe as Muslim families and are fearful for our families. Please make your students feel safe and express themselves, such as expressing desire to be free or freedom for a people or nation. That should be basic. Provide them with a safe space, tackle all forms of hate, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, racism, anti-Arab hate, anti-Asian hate. While you cannot control the world affairs, you can control what happens on your campuses. Please ensure that all students feel safe while they are at school. Anti-Semitism, Islamophobia are on the rise. Neither should be tolerated. I encourage you to take zero tolerance approach to all forms of racism. I encourage you to provide extra counseling resources for any student affected by this conflict. Healing circles, respectful discussions, act of solidarity and peace. Help them lead a way to a better future for us all. Finally, please continue to support ethnic studies and the inclusions of Arab, Muslim, Palestinian voice. Every kid should recognize their right to exist. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Natasha Kenemakar. Again, please correct me if I didn't get that right.
Thank you. My name is Natasha Kihimkar. I'm a Bearcat mom. Superintendent Booker, Board of Trustees, and Trustee Griffin, I want to call your attention to the positive impact that Principal Shu is having at San Mateo High in this time of crisis in the world and blatant Islamophobia and anti-Semitism here in our own country. From what I see, San Mateo High does not seem to have experienced the same level of hateful behavior on the part of its faculty, staff, and students that other schools in the Bay Area, and sadly in this very district, have. Like other parents, and you are all my neighbors, like my neighbors, I am concerned for the physical, emotional, and psychological safety of our students. When I emailed her in mid-October, Principal Shu assured me that she and her team were aware. And it turns out San Mateo High teachers, admin, counseling, and wellness staff were already prepared and meeting with students to listen, give voice, and support our students. She said, and I quote, "Our top priority has always been our students' safety. We are doing what we can to support each of our students, and we will continue to do so moving forward." When I had the chance to speak to Principal Shu one-on-one at the recent open house or the back-to-school thing for the rising 9th graders, she again demonstrated empathy and energy for creating a safe and inclusive learning environment for all students. As a Jew of color, people often try to erase my ancestry and heritage with their ignorance. I live at an intersection of racism and anti-Jewish hate. I want to call this board's attention to Principal Shu and her team. Yes, I'm sure there's more to do, but in my opinion, they are on the right path at this very difficult time. It is my hope that you'll provide them with the needed support to ensure that the hate we've seen in other schools never enter the doors of San Mateo High, and that you provide ongoing investment in our district staff and faculty to ensure that everyone recognizes and is equipped to address all forms of hate, including Islamophobia and the intersection of anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism. To quote or paraphrase historian and U.S. Special Envoy to Monitor and Combat Anti-Semitism, Deborah Lipstadt, when you are talking about a state with over 7 million Jews, and when you're saying they have no right to exist, well, you can read more in Bret Stephens' opinion piece in the New York Times from earlier this week. Finally, I ask that each high school's history and ethnic studies curricula be reviewed for gaps, inaccuracy, and blatant misinformation. We have work to do, but I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your service and the work of our teachers, our faculty, and our staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The next speaker, I don't have a last name, Inas. You know what? If you don't mind, we need a first and last name, so I'm going to send it back for.
Sure. My name is Inas El-Mashni.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members. 11,000 innocent human beings have been killed. 11,000. Just think about that. I wanted to speak without a script, but this number is mentally not allowing me to do so. I'm a Palestinian Muslim American that was born and raised in San Mateo County and work at a local nonprofit that is serving members of this community and expect my children to feel safe in this community. I'm a parent of a student at Aragon High School, and I was deeply disturbed by the public comments made during the October 12th board meeting. Superintendent Booker's statements during that time were neutral, but I was disheartened to witness his empathy for Gazans being inaccurately portrayed as anti-Semitic by certain members of the public. It's crucial to emphasize that empathy for one group does not translate into hatred for another. Why do Palestinian lives not matter? Are we just collateral damage? We are witnessing an ethnic cleansing in real time and turning a blind eye. It's unbelievable that I must even reiterate that we are just as human. Given that we are now 5 weeks into the ongoing conflict and having collectively witnessed the distressing images from Gaza, it should be of the utmost priority that you focus on the well-being of all your students. I want to express my appreciation for your resilience against organized pressure. My ask is for you to maintain your focus on our children and their needs. As a proud Palestinian, I share that for the first time, my children are experiencing fear and hesitation in mentioning who they are and where the kids are coming from. Schools should be a safe place where kids are proud to be who they are, acknowledge their rich cultural roots, and contributions to the world and society we all live in. We have seen violence in schools in San Francisco, where a young Arab student at Francisco Middle School was assaulted and beat up by two fellow students, or at Stanford University, where a Syrian student was intentionally targeted and hit by a car because he wore a t-shirt that had Arabic calligraphy, or where a Muslim mother was walking her child to school was spit on. I urge you to ensure that every student feels secure while at school. The rise of Islamophobia is concerning and should be denounced. I encourage you to adopt a zero-tolerance approach to all forms of racism and to allocate additional resources for students affected by this conflict. I also want to express gratitude for your support of ethnic studies. It is through such classes and the support of leaders such as Dr. Samia Shoman that all our students can feel encouraged and proud of their identities. I urge you to continue supporting this program and advocating for Arab and Palestinian voices. Wearing a keffiyeh and standing up for basic human rights doesn't make anyone anti-Semitic. Thank you for your dedication to the well-being of our students.
Thank you. The next speaker is Irina Belobrev. Again, I hope I got that right. If I didn't, please correct me.
Hi, my name is Irina Belobrev. I grew up in San Mateo County, went to San Mateo High School. My daughter is a junior in this community, and I am here to basically remind everybody. First of all, I just want to say that I'm against any civilian, innocent children going through a horrible situation right now in Gaza, in Palestine, in Israel, and all over the world right now, especially in the United States of America. I myself am a granddaughter of Holocaust survivors. My parents, I identify as a Russian, Ukrainian, Jew. Now that all three mean something, because I can't just be Russian, I can't just be Ukrainian, and I can't just be Jewish. It stands for something, because I went through anti-Semitism throughout my life, even growing up here in San Mateo. I hear every single parent out here feeling the same way as I do for my child, the safety of their safety in high school. I want to commend basically Hillsdale High School, Mr. Gilbert, for keeping everything peaceful, neutral, keeping politics out of high school. Our kids need to feel safe in the hallways, in the classrooms, and amongst their friends. Before October 7th, there was none of this confusion of who's right, who's wrong, whose pain is more, whose suffering is a little more. We were all one community. We are completely divided right now, and it's shameful. And I don't want to see that happen on school campuses. I understand that there are a lot of suffering right now. I reiterate the words that this gentleman used as well. The Pledge of Allegiance. We are all United States citizens. We all pledge allegiance to the American flag, for justice for all. We are all here for the same reason. We all escaped oppression from somewhere else to feel free, to feel safe, to live in peace. And that's what our kids need to be taught in school. What is going on with ethnic studies? I don't know. It's obviously not about the Jewish people. And from what I hear from this community, obviously not about the Palestinian people either, or other Arab communities. So something definitely has to change. My older daughter has already graduated college. I only have a junior now. She learns her culture from her family. Our culture is peace and love for everybody. We are United States citizens of America. We all live in the United States of America. Our politics should be supporting the United States of America. We should only be talking about schools here in our community, the safety for our children here in our community, no matter what culture or race, whatever ethnicity they come from. I'm sorry, I'm very nervous and I can't speak straight.
No, you're doing great. The time's up though. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mutia Omari. Again, please correct me if my pronunciation is incorrect.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening. Before we begin, I want to recognize Miss Marlene Gaines, who is the ASL interpreter. Please, everybody clap for her. She's the one who's translating.
There's actually two. They trade off. So, yeah.
Well, then both of you. Okay.
There you go.
If you want to take a break, drink water, stretch your hands.
You'll see they switch, but don't worry.
Okay. Very good.
They're good.
Okay. So good evening, respectable board members. My name is Mutia Omari. I'm a member. And by the way, am I going too fast? Okay. No, I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at her. Oh, good. Okay, fine. Okay. I'm a member of the Muslim Palestinian American community, born and raised in the Bay Area with friends and classmates from all religions. Attended from elementary school to high school in the San Mateo Union High School District. And I want to thank you for this opportunity. My parents, grandparents, uncles, and 7 generations of family members are from Jaffa, Palestine, born prior to 1948. My parents, grandparents, and hundreds of family members and over 700,000 fellow Palestinians became refugees in 1948. I would like to offer 5 thoughts to help continue the legacy of quality education to empower and inspire all our students, because that's why we are here. By the way, the first word revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace and blessings upon him, in the final testament of the Holy Quran is the word Iqra. In Arabic translates to read. So these 5 thoughts that something for the board just to think about in moving forward in empowering and inspiring our students. Number one, read and teach. In regards to the Palestinian story, our 39th president, Jimmy Carter, authored a book titled Palestine, Peace, Not Apartheid. God bless President Carter and Rosalind Carter. Blessed are the peacemakers. Number two, think different. A man from a biological father from Syria, Abdel Fattah Jandari, gave birth to a man, we all know him as Steve Jobs. And when he came back to Apple, he made its resurgence in 1997, began with those two famous words, think different. Number three, a better way. In the political arena, the attitude may be my way or the highway. However, in academia, we want to facilitate an environment that there's always going to be a better way. Number four, welcome dissent. Sometimes the most important words may be those that not uttered because of an environment of fear and intimidation. We need to maintain an environment where we embrace all students and let them know we welcome dissent. Number five, give back. As Americans, we have a role to give back to the less fortunate. Currently, our tax dollars are being misused to finance a war against the people of Palestine. It's time we say no more tax dollars for war, and yes, tax dollars for schools and teachers. And lastly, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, who is the first Palestinian American elected to Congress, was censured by Congress because she uttered the words, "From river to the sea, Palestine will be free," to which to us, it just means Palestinians coming back home. She takes, Americans for Justice in Palestine said she takes a place in the dark annals of the U.S. House of Representatives, along with Whig Party Congressman Joshua Giddings, who Congress censured in 1842 for daring to introduce an anti-slavery bill. So with that, I see free Palestine. God bless you all, and thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to turn to, we're going to try to finish up what's online, and then we're going to go and finish up what's here in my hand. So.
Just a moment.
Sure.
Miriam Jalil, you can unmute and begin.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, you may begin.
I'm not putting my video on because I'm in the car, but I did want to speak. Thank you so much to the board and superintendent for giving me the opportunity to speak today. And I would like to commend you for your support in issuing a balanced statement and providing a safe environment for the children. What happened October 7th was horrific. However, what's happening now in Gaza is even more devastating. Thousands of children have been killed, and it's a sad time for humanity when we have to advocate and stand up and protest to stop killing children. And when we try to protest, there's every attempt to silence us. Our children do not choose political sides when they are young. They are influenced with what they are taught at home and at school. By teaching Palestinian history in your curriculum, hopefully we'll help people understand and empathize. And that's what we want for our children. When leaders like you speak up, advocating an empathetic standpoint, everyone is watching, including the children. Your words and statements matter. The second point I'd like to make a point is I'm here to support Samia Shoman and Candace Thomas, who have the courage to speak up and are braver than many others I know. We parents and the children need more people like you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We're going to go to the next speaker online.
Renee R., you may unmute and begin.
Hello. I wanted to call in. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I just wanted to confirm we can hear you.
Okay, great, thanks. I wanted to call in to commend Superintendent Booker and the board for their recent statement focusing on the safety of all children and making sure they can learn in an environment without fear. Please continue supporting the teachers who are allowing kids to become educated about the issues and do their own critical thinking after seeing multiple perspectives as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Initials AH, you may unmute and begin.
Hello? There we go.
Hi. Thank you guys for giving me this time. I wanted to thank the superintendent and the board for doing what you guys do. I know it's not easy, especially if you do it, correctly. I grew up in Millbrae, so I grew up throughout the San Mateo district. I actually went to Mills, so shout out to the Vikings. And I wanted to kind of draw you guys back to when I was a kid and what I see now. As a child, I remember in Mills, we would have our assembly hall, and I personally would look up and pay attention to the flags that were decorated around the assembly. There were maybe 100 flags up there. And one thing that I noticed is there was no Palestinian flag. I would go to my history class and I would open up a book and I would take a look at the map. And I would see that there is no word Palestine on that map. As far as I was concerned as a child, Palestine didn't exist. I spoke to my grandparents, and the call that was coming in said either Israel or it said Palestinian territory. So again, Palestine didn't exist. As an adult, I turn on the news and I see President Biden talk about how he is a Zionist and about how he thinks that the amount of deaths in Palestine, not Gaza, but Palestine, is exaggerated. And then I watch the San Francisco 49ers as they have a moment of silence before every game for the deaths on October 7th on the Israeli side. But never a moment of silence for us. So although this is all politics and this is all an international issue, I want to circle back to you, superintendent, and you board, and how this pertains to you guys and how you guys are now responsible for your children and what you guys are doing. And as I mentioned before, and I did not mean to insult you by it, but your job is not easy. You will get backlash. When you send out neutral statements, people will push back. But that's why I challenge you to stick to your guns and to stick to what you believe in and what you feel is fair. If somebody says free Palestine and they come back and tell you that that is anti-Semitism, I challenge you to understand it means freedom. It means somebody yelling to be free. It means somebody that wants to be acknowledged. Your children need to be acknowledged. They're not your students, they're your children, and they need to be acknowledged. Now, I'm not saying this as just a pretty statement, and I'm not gonna accept a blanket statement in response. How do you do this? It's not sending security guards or allowing freedom of speech in your schools. It's not introducing politics or even history down to the depth of what people want. I understand that's too much. I'm a business owner and I understand exactly how it works. But I also understand you guys need to have tough skin and you guys need to introduce the things that make sense. What makes sense to me as somebody that was a child growing up in the Bay Area and an adult now? Very simple. Introduce things like the Palestinian flag. Not throughout everywhere, but if there's an assembly hall that you guys have, I want to see the Palestinian flag. And I know that sounds funny, but to children, that means something. You guys have history books. Is the word Palestine in there? Specifically on the map? Probably not. Now, I don't know if this is a difficult task, but you know what? Your job is difficult. So you guys need to find the ways to introduce the word Palestine so that we can exist. I don't want you to pick sides. I don't want you to send out statements. I don't want you to do any of that.
You need to finish up. I have to be difficult and tell you to stop.
Devise a plan, sure. I would like you guys to devise a plan so that you could introduce the word Palestine, because we do exist. And that is what we hate, when you do not allow people to exist.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Next speaker.
Miriam, you may unmute and begin.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Miriam. I'm a student, and I've been working with kids very closely for about 3 years now. So I know how important it is to protect the children in our immediate circles and children all around the world. And the best way for me to describe the past month, 40 days now, is exhausting. And I know that the exhaustion that I feel is but less than 1% of the exhaustion that the Palestinians feel being subject to a genocide. But I'm not Palestinian myself. I might as well be, because my heart is with them every single moment. I spent my times on campus going to class, work, school, nothing else. But 40 days ago, I had to be very active because I find it my responsibility to speak the truth when no one else is. And that's not something that I learned from a book. That's not something that I learned from, Even, I mean, my parents, of course, always taught me that, but I was always taught through the education system that that's what education is about. That's what schools are about amplifying the truth, about justice, about equality and fairness. I was speaking with the president of my college the other day, and she was telling me that she doesn't think releasing a statement makes a difference because people will have something to say. People always have something to say. And the way a genocide can be carried out while everybody is silent is through fear. Fear of being doxxed, fear of being called out, fear of being shamed for simply speaking out and saying the truth. But if there's one thing that I've learned, and if there's one thing that I aim to teach the kids that I teach, it's that the truth matters that much more when people are trying to suppress it. And so I want to say thank you for doing your best to amplify the truth. And I want to ask you to continue doing so. Speak facts. Over 12,000 people in Gaza have died. 6,000 of them are children. There have been hate crimes all over. My friends have been hate crimed. A professor at my school the other day was trying to convince us that we were brainwashed by the media and that she feels unsafe when I'm the one who gets targeted, when my friends are getting targeted. I want to end with a quote that I found. I've used it a few times when talking about this because I found it to be very profound. And Martin Luther King said, "The ultimate tragedy is not the cruelty and oppression by the bad people, but the silence over it by the good people." And I want us all to really think about that and try our best to make sure that we are amongst the people that stand up and speak out when genocide is happening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Monica McGowan, you may unmute and begin.
My name is Monica, and I'm an Arab American community member. As someone who grew up after 9/11, when we were seeing a similar amount of hatred towards Arabs and Muslims, this board needs to be doing more to protect its Arab and Muslim students. When I was in school, teachers were not allowed to say the word Palestine. So we learned about Israel and Palestine not from an educational professional, but from a speaker at a school-wide assembly who went on an unrelated tangent. He called Palestinians animals and said that they didn't deserve to live. Surrounded by kids who were taught that people like me and my family don't deserve to live, I retreated into myself and it hurt my social development. I needed someone like Dr. Shamia Shoman, who knows that Palestinians are human. You need to trust your educational professionals to teach history. They are the best stewards of education and inclusion. Students will learn about this, but it's up to you whether they learn from educational professionals or from sources that incite hate and violence. Please let teachers do their jobs. Finally, Free Palestine means liberation. Similar to the Berlin Wall, Palestinians are forcibly divided. There are Palestinians in the West Bank who have never seen the Mediterranean Sea, and there are Palestinians in Gaza who have never seen the Jordan River. From the river to the sea implies freedom of movement and freedom to live. Very much appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker.
Rema Asia, you may unmute and begin.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Hello and thank you. As a Palestinian, a Muslim, a member of this community, and ultimately a human being, it is incumbent upon myself to remind the district that you have a responsibility to provide a secure environment for our students and allow them to all grow and thrive, all of them. I'm grateful that we have people like Ms. Shoman to ensure ethnic studies are brought to our students. These teachings bring hard discussions to the forefront and move us closer to a future that is empathetic and equitable for all. Reality is not always convenient, nor is it easy to accept, but it is necessary to absorb and learn from in order to truly progress as a community and as a society. I'm disappointed that some people falsely believe that the phrase Free Palestine means our freedom comes at the cost of another person's freedom. It is not a phrase that comes with a hidden agenda. I personally am not sure how many dead babies we need to see to understand that freedom is a basic human right, and to move in any way that would prevent that for all is horrendous and an absolute shame to humanity. Our Palestinian and Muslim students are flesh and bone, minds and soul, and ultimately the future of our society just as much as their peers. They are entitled to be taken seriously and neither be reprimanded nor silenced for voicing support for justice in the face of clear-cut war crimes, ethnic cleansing, and apartheid. Not superiority, not hate, but justice. Our kids are in pain, and we as adults, as parents, and as educators need to make sure that they are cared for and accounted for. In a time that our children are in that pain and exposed to the harshest realities the world can offer, all broadcasted on social media and the news, these children should be comforted. Instead, they are antagonized, silenced, and attacked. This can no longer continue, and as long as we see that our kids aren't cared for, we will come out to make sure they are. And I only hope that you do as well. I thank you all for your time. Please have a good night.
Thank you. Our next speaker.
Daniel G. may unmute and begin.
Yes, hi. I'm a parent of the high schooler in San Mateo High School District. First of all, I'm an American, and I would like to just bring your attention to one thing. When I was a kid, going to school in Soviet Union, I was taught what was truth. Truth is what represented. Truth can be different, and it changes from time to time, depending upon circumstances. So what I would love to see is that you teach kids not what we parents are trying to tell them, but actually to teach them how to find the truth and how to think for themselves. From my understanding, we are all affected by our histories, by our hurts, by our hates, but kids have nothing to do with it. They're still young, they're still innocent. So please, teach them how to navigate this world, and don't feed them and tell them, well, this is the truth and this is the truth. Because otherwise, what will happen is we will teach the prejudices will come down from their parents, and then they will teach their children, and that will never stop. So thank you. That's all that I want to say.
Thank you.
Sarah Morsi, you may unmute and begin.
Hi, my name is Salah Morsi. I was a student of the San Mateo Union High School District. I graduated a while back. And I just wanted to bring to your attention the importance of having educators like Miss Showman and Miss Thompson. I did not have a Miss Showman or Miss Thompson growing up, and I went through the Burlingame school system, and then when I went to high school at BHS, also I did not find that representation. There's a lot of misinformation and fear-mongering that is seen on major news outlets, and having the education from these type of teachers that teach actual facts and have an inclusive outlook on what is happening and what has been happening, not since just October 7th, but over 75 years, provides students with the tools and information for them to make informed decisions and navigate worldly events. That is the purpose of school, is we expect to be provided with an education, learn so that we have the tool set, the terminology, so that we can make informed decisions. I hope that you continue to support these teachers, and I hope that you guys are able to have a more inclusive conversation regarding the curriculum and changing it so that it's more inclusive and actually representative of historical events, that is not biased, there are many countless educational sites and informative books and textbooks that the school can really refer back to, that I'm sure that someone like Miss Shaman or Miss Thompson or the countless other teachers that we've heard today would be able to be part of that conversation in discussing how the school curriculum could actually be representative of history, because the events that we're seeing unfold, the genocide in Gaza, is heartbreaking, and students have no idea. Some students might have absolutely no idea what is Gaza, what is happening. Other students might not understand. And so it's really important to provide that safe space for not only the Palestinians, but also the Jewish people, the Jewish students. Also, Palestinians are not just Muslims. So it's just really important. Again, why education is really important is to provide all of that information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fatima Abdel Wahab, you may unmute and begin. Fatima?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hello, thank you for giving me the platform to speak tonight. I do appreciate it. I am coming to you as an educator myself. I am a Muslim American. I am Egyptian, Greek, and Polish, so I am not Palestinian, although that shouldn't matter. I think what I wanted to come here and say is it's disheartening that the students all over are having a lot of issues. There's a lot of, I mean, since COVID alone, there's been an uprise in outbreaks in schools with behavioral issues. And I actually teach at an all-Muslim school, an Islamic school. And there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of emotions. I think COVID has done a lot. And coming out of COVID, all of us have been impacted across the world. It's very difficult right now to see the kids now having come out of that as Muslim kids to now have to deal with Islamophobia yet again. I was a seventh grader when September 11, a sixth grader when September 11 hit. And you can imagine as a woman or as a child who would wear the hijab, the type of Islamophobic rhetoric I would face at that time. No way, absolutely no way do I support anti-Semitic or anti-Zionist, the movement, as everybody wants to say, is on the rise. I really do want to say that, as unfortunate as it is, I was taught about the Holocaust as a kid in middle school, and I think it's a disservice that in world history we don't teach about the entire world. And I know it's difficult to do that, but I think that we should, as all educators, really get together and really think about how we can revamp the world history lessons to be a little bit more relevant, because these kids, these students that are becoming adults are not properly utilizing. I mean, they don't have the tools to deal with such crazy topics. This is a political discussion, but at the same time, there's a lot of humanity. And I think that if the kids don't have the proper knowledge, and we only have just some of it, then there's going to be a lot more anger in the world. And I just really, really urge all of us in the educational platform to really rethink how we properly assist these kids with a lot of the stressors that they have.
Thank you.
Especially, okay, thank you.
Your time's up. Thank you.
Melissa Poblet.
Hi. I wasn't planning to talk tonight, but
just the love and the caring and the understandable indignation that a lot of the families, educators, and community members have been talking about tonight compelled me to say something. So first, I just want to address the ad hominem attacks that are constantly being put on Dr. Shamia Shoman. I worked with Shamia for years at Hillsdale High School. And so I inherited the students that she taught. I was an 11th grade history English teacher there, and I inherited her 10th grade world history students. All of her students loved and respected her. And I mean, all of them, not just her Middle Eastern students, not just the students that were on her soccer team. Her Jewish students were also very much benefited from her teaching. I can say from that experience that her students, more than other students that I inherited, were more socially aware, more critical in their analysis, could question things, and could really understand world and global issues. It is possible to teach about Palestine and Israel, and Dr. Shamia Shoman did it. She's published about it also. So the second thing I want to talk about is that what other people have talked about, this silence. And that is the part that scares me, that as an educator, I have felt fear even talking about Palestine. In years past, I've had read stories with my students from Jewish authors. And also when I tried to teach stories from Palestinian authors, there was backlash. So I really encourage the district to support teachers to not be afraid to teach about this history and the literature. And as a result, like, I see that a lot of my colleagues don't feel comfortable teaching about it because of what's going on. And understandably, there's a lot of emotions, but our students don't know the history. And that's part of the issue. They're seeing things out of context, and social media is what it is. And if they don't know what the history is, they're going to not understand Palestinian history and the Middle Eastern history. So I would just hope that the board and the district continue to support educators in a supportive way. So thank you.
Thank you.
Near Drummer.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Liat Remer, and I'm speaking as an American, Israeli, and Jewish. I want to say that first and foremost, all of us should condemn what happened in Israel. We don't try to silence anyone, but it's impossible to talk about it without condemning Hamas and kidnapping of Israeli kids, citizens. So it is impossible for me to hear the phrase "from the river to the sea" without thinking that from the river to the sea, it means that there's no space for Israel, and Israel does not exist in this equation. Sorry, it's really difficult for me to talk because it's almost 40 days that me and my country are all grieving from what's happening, and it's still happening. Everybody must understand that if the Israeli army was not there, none of my family would exist. My family had to hide in their attic for 10 hours to be able to survive this, and they were lucky, and they are the lucky one that were saved. So it is impossible to think of somebody teaching about it and maybe teaching and ignoring the facts from our side. I'm not pro killing of any kids, but I am pro of the right of Israel to protect its citizens. Sorry. One more thing that I want to say is that there are still 240 Israeli citizens that are kidnapped and hidden in the Hamas tunnels. So it is impossible to talk about education and just ignore those facts, and those kids need to be back home. So sorry, I'm not able to
Thank you. What was that?
The-
Is that Mike from that?
It was her, I believe it was her
okay.
microphone.
Okay.
The letter N, you can unmute and begin.
Thank you. I wasn't initially planning on speaking tonight, but decided to speak after hearing a man who spoke earlier and in his comments tried to erase the long history and existence of Palestine and Palestinians. His comments demonstrate the very reason that schools need to have a robust history and ethnic studies curriculum and the need to be sure educators and students alike have sound knowledge. I am not Palestinian. I never heard about Palestine in school. I learned about Palestine from books that were difficult to find in the city library and from members in the community. I'm calling in today as a pediatrician. The entirety of my profession is dedicated to making sure all children are healthy and safe, and the experience children have in schools has a huge impact on their mental health and well-being. We live in a social political climate where people are being fired from their workplaces or silenced and removed from universities for simply expressing their support for Palestinians and against Zionism. Our federal and state governments are passing resolutions to silence and criminalize pro-Palestinian voices. The only Palestinian congresswoman was censored. Our president has made it clear that Palestinian lives do not matter to him or his administration. In this political climate, I want to express how important it is for students to have a safe space in schools and how important it is for students to have accurate education in schools. This includes educating children about Palestine and the rich history of Palestinian people. This includes educating children about how Palestinians are a Semitic people as well. This includes educating about the difference between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, to remember that there is a Palestinian Christian minority that peacefully resides with the Palestinian Muslim majority. And we absolutely should include in our curriculum the injustices of the past and of today of the Palestinian people. If our education includes discussing the Holocaust, as it rightfully should, and we educate about apartheid in South Africa, as we should, we shouldn't be afraid of educating about Palestine and Israel and current events. I want to thank the school board and superintendent for allowing parents and community members to speak and for making sure that student voices are not silenced. I would continue to encourage you to be honest in your speech and actions and to provide a sound education to your students and to not fear threats or false accusations are made. Standing up for your students is really, really important. And it really impacts their mental health. I'm a pediatrician. I see it all the time where children really struggle when they can't express themselves. And the current conflict, the past as well, but definitely right now, when I'm seeing patients who don't even have family in Palestine, but they know what's happening, it's really hard on their mental health. They spend a lot of time in school. I'm sorry, my patients matter a lot to me. They spend a lot of time in school and they need to have a safe space. They need to be able to say things like Free Palestine without it being misinterpreted as if they were going to harm someone. They need to have a voice. And I just want to thank you for allowing that and for making sure you have teachers that help promote that. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I go to the next speaker, I'm going to go out of turn here. I believe, speaking as, listening to the pediatrician and worrying about the mental health of students, we have two very wonderful board members, student board members who are here, probably have been lasting much longer than they needed to be. So I'm going to go out of order and ask if they could have, if they would like to do their presentations so that we can allow them to leave and do what you need to do. Is that okay? You good with that? All right. I'm sorry we took so long, but we didn't know how many speakers there were going to be. Okay, so I'd like to introduce our two student board members. During this time, we usually have everyone at the board gets to speak and have comment. So I'm going to give them their time so that they have their turn.
My name is Zareen Chang, and I'm excited to be one of the student board member representatives alongside Bianca. We had a lot of positive feedback from students on United Against Hate Week activities at different sites, including art contests, lunch activities, posters, and kindness notes. For Mills, this week from November 14th to 18th is an entire week dedicated to unity and equality in our community, while standing against any form of hate. During this whole week, there were lunch activities every day dedicated to United Against Hate for leadership, and our teachers, Ms. Dove and Ms. Zinker over there, who alongside leadership organized this, coordinated different activities. For example, on Monday, there was poster making, Mills leadership was handing out stickers on Tuesday, and for the following days, there were supplies to create kindness notes and bracelets.
And as a student board representative, what we've been doing at our board meetings, Zareen and I have created this survey that we have circulating our campus, and we created it in the hopes of it being a digital suggestion box of what our school sites would like us as a group to discuss and the actions that we need to take. And our other representatives from Cappuccino have also had this survey circulating, and it's in hopes of creating a cookbook for students, and it's collecting recipes, easy and simple recipes that students could use in their time between studies and also hopefully beyond high school when they're in college.
We've also had involvement of student board council members on the interview committee to hire the firm redesigning new district logo. Here at the student board council members, we've been actively involving in redesigning of the new district logo. One of our other members, Emily Liu, sat on a panel and discussed the new district logo. We're super excited to be able to be involved in this process of this new logo and is looking forward to seeing the final product on school websites, district websites, and many more.
And also at our meetings, we've been discussing some positive feedback on the Native American Heritage Month proclamation that was stated at the last meeting. We talked about the powerful language and what it means to us as students, and how the students at different sites can take that proclamation and really make it have meaning at our different schools.
There are also different projects that we are working on. For now, me and Bianca and a couple other members on the student board council are currently creating a teen mental health retreat and currently collaborating with manager of mental health, Miss April Torres. We could possibly collaborate with CSM Middle College as they have shown interest in hosting this retreat at their location. So we're very excited to be able to roll out this project.
And adding on to our future goals, we hope that we could have a student board council newsletter. And this could just summarize what we've been talking about at our meetings and the future events and guest speakers that we have. And then also, I would just want to acknowledge everybody here and thank you and say that as a student, it is really important for me to hear, and I'd have a great privilege of being in this room and hearing all of your powerful words and stories. So thank you.
I just want to say we have a lot to learn from our student board members. Thank you.
100%. And I know that you all wanted us to take a picture. I'm sorry. Could we do it at the next meeting? Or do you need it tonight?
Uh-oh.
All of us.
All of us?
Or yeah, or if you need a
With the
picture.
indulgence of the audience, we're going to take a picture. We're going to take a 1-minute recess. Y'all can use restrooms, come back. We'll do like 2 minutes. We're going to take a picture. We've been doing this for a long time. So we're going to take a picture with our student board members. It's a 5-minute recess and we'll return in 5 minutes to finish the speakers and finish our meeting. Where do we, right here?
I know.
I hear you, I hear you. Can you hear me? Yes. I'm gonna try to talk. I don't know if I'll try to get their attention. Okay.
Hi, we're taking a 5-minute recess.
Yeah, but she needs help. Her team is not on. Hello? We'll help you.
What was that?
Okay, go ahead. Can you hear her? Frida needs to be added as a panelist because Gio's been alone for the last hour. So Frida is an attendee but needs to be a panelist. Hello? Oh, I'm so sorry, Gio. We'll take care of it. We'll make sure before they start the meeting.
We just promoted Frida to
We'll
a
take care of
panelist.
it. You got her? Oh, good. Okay. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Gio. No problem. Poor thing.
us and finish our talks. We still have quite a few people online as well as in person that we need to address, and we need to finish and complete our meeting and start our meeting. So let's get going. We do have quorum, so I am going to start. Reconvene. We're going to go back to who's online.
Roman, you may unmute and begin.
Hello. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I must admit that I did not have fair warning of this meeting. I only found out recently when it began, but I have been listening in, and I wanted to express a few points. One is I'd like to reflect a little bit on what has been said, and I also want to put a question as to whether this is actually the intent of the current forum, and what is the purpose of all of the views that have been expressed. Now, I think what concerns me the most is that this is presented as an expression for educational aspirations, but ultimately this has somewhat gone down the path of a one-sided debate on a highly polarizing political issue. Now, I too have my views, but I don't think it's particularly prudent of me to express those. What I do want to focus on is how the things that I've observed and heard relate to the educational goals of the district. Now, a few things that I've heard have caused a little bit of concern in me. One in particular is the quotation by one of the speakers saying that an apolitical space is dangerous. Now, that statement to me actually seems somewhat dangerous, given the political polarization both within our nation and abroad. Bringing that kind of discourse on an emotional basis into the classroom, I doubt will have positive educational effects, and I also don't see how it contributes to the safety of our students. Now, the way that I see it, the duties and goals of the school, and by extension the school district, is to offer fact-based education, to teach math, science, literature, history, to teach the students to develop an ability to think critically and analytically when approaching any topic, and to provide a safe environment, of course. Now, the views that have been expressed are largely one-sided, and I think there's a little bit of a false equivocation, precisely forgetting that the current war has started by a heinous terrorist attack upon innocent civilians on October the 7th. But again, I don't want to delve into that too much. I want to caution all of us to focus on fact-based education within the schools and not to project our personal and political views onto the students and therefore the educational space within which they exist. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Just as a point of information for the speaker, public comment is open to anyone, and it is a 3-minute time when anyone gets to speak. We do not put this on, this is not on the agenda. In fact, we have not even started our meeting yet. So just a point of information, this is open comment. Again, we've had many different times when comments have been just like this, one-sided, one group. I'm just trying to explain that during this time, it's anybody can talk for 3 minutes. So just so you know. All right. So moving on, we still have speakers online that we'd like to continue.
Leah, L-E-Y-A.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. My name is Leah. I was actually a student in this district many years ago, and San Mateo High School Bearcats. And my parents actually came to this country from the former Soviet Union as refugees. I went to San Mateo High when it was cool to write Peace in the Middle East on our backpacks, and we lived in a much friendlier environment. I look forward to when we can return to that someday. Unfortunately, after October 7th, a lot of things changed, and my parents started asking me, why they even came here in the first place, because the anti-Semitism that they thought they escaped has been rampant in our community. And I've been listening to what's been happening in our high school. I'm actually terrified to send my kids to public high school right now in this environment. The ADL has reported that nearly 400% increase in anti-Semitic attacks since Hamas's attack on Israel. And our students do not feel safe. And I'm sure that Jewish faculty also don't feel safe. To specifically address some of the commentary, Martin Luther King Jr. also said that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. Make no mistake about it. And calling Israel an apartheid state actually takes away from the real apartheid that happens in South Africa. And genocide is when 6 million Jews were murdered by the Nazis. And when we hear these words being appropriated, Jews don't feel safe or supported. And when we see that atrocities are committed all over the world, but the only outrage is against the Jewish state, the root of that outrage is pure anti-Semitism. From the river to the sea means no Jews and no Israel. There is nothing more anti-Semitic than that exact statement. And no one else and no other culture gets to appropriate and minimize our experience by explaining to us what they think that means. It doesn't matter. You know what it means to us, and you can be pro-Palestinian and you can choose other words. Coming back to our community, this is America. Hate speech is not free speech, and our kids have a right to a safe public school education. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rena Korb.
Rena, you have 3 minutes. Rena,
you
are you
can
there?
unmute.
Hello? Can we move on to the next speaker, please?
Anat Ronan.
Anat, can you hear me?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. So thank you. Thank you for staying so long, and thank you for having this meeting. I've been hearing a few of the speakers, so I have a few points that I'm going to quickly go through. First, there was a doctor, a pediatrician, that mentioned she keeps treating people that are mentally hurt by whatever is going on in Palestine. She did not mention any patients of her coming very horrified from whatever cruel, unbelievable attacks that happened on October 7th, that we still day to day find out all the details. And I think it's going to take months to actually discover all the details that actually happened there. Babies pulling out of their pregnant moms. So this is an example of showing one side that is very wrong to me. And again, you are educators, and this is why we're here for, to make sure that the kids are safe and being correctly educated and being taken care of mentally. So this is something that really needs to be pointed out. The second thing is, someone mentioned that people are being fired, teachers are being fired because they raise an opinion. Well, there is one thing to raise an opinion, and there's another thing to come with fact. You can definitely say your opinion, but if you're saying something that is not backed up by facts, it's a problem. If you're, working in a government, in a school, in whatever, it's a problem. You cannot do that. Another thing is, we want to teach about the subject, then yes, we cannot just involve feelings. We have to involve facts. There's facts. It's easy to get them. Also, what else? As an Israeli American Jew, I have witnessed in the past few weeks death to Israel sprayed all over San Francisco. I am terrified. So imagine what Jewish students are going through, and I'm sure that Palestine students or Muslims or Jewish, everyone are afraid right now. Someone needs to stop this crazy train. And I guess we turn to you guys as educators because we see what's happening in academia, and it's just mind-blowing. Another thing that was said was genocide and ethnic cleansing. No one has stopped and mentioned for 1 second why we're in this war. Again, on October 6th, there was ceasefire. On October 6th, no one was on the streets. So you guys need to, when you're raising your voices saying, I cannot witness 11,000 people being dead like that in Palestine. You're forgetting those 2,000 Israelis that were butchered on October 7th. So the number is much more than 11,000. You're forgetting to mention that there's an organization called Hamas. I am crying every day for the people of Palestine because I can't believe what Hamas is doing to them throughout.
Finish your thought.
Thank you so much. There's a lot to say. Thank you again for having this meeting.
Thank you. Okay.
Rena Korb.
Hi, sorry about that before. So I wasn't planning on attending tonight because I had surgery at 7 a.m. But I had to jump on when I was hearing friends talk about all the comments. My kids are sophomores at Hillsdale, and I ask them every day if they have witnessed anti-Semitism, which they did, unfortunately, at their at Abbott Middle School. I'm grateful that the answer is no, and I have a lot of faith and respect for their teachers at Hillsdale. But I'm calling tonight because I'm afraid for my kids and I'm afraid for myself for the first time ever. Something is going wrong with education in this country. Just today, my daughter told me that Osama bin Laden is all over TikTok because young people have discovered he wrote a letter to America and now they're all siding with him. More relevant to this conversation tonight is that we are seeing astounding levels of anti-Semitism on university campuses and among young people in America. And that's not even taking into account the ones we just see on social media. So my ask is pretty simple. Create an ethnic studies program that fights against hatred, period. Hatred against Jews, as well as any people who are the target of systemic hatred. Create an ethnic studies program that advocates for respect, period. Respect for anybody, for people who share your beliefs, backgrounds, and experiences, as well as for people who don't share your background and experiences. This is what our kids, plus obviously the critical thinking skills to not, think Osama bin Laden is a hero. Anyways, I know it sounds simple. I know it's not, but it's what our country and what our children need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amina.
Hi, good evening, and thank you for. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We just need our IT person needs to. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Well, first of all, I think it's ridiculous that Palestinians, pro-Palestinians, are showing up here with everything that's going on and a complete genocide happening, and people are telling us right now that we're not allowed to call it a genocide. So please don't tell us what we should call the mass murder of our people. Second of all, I grew up in San Mateo County. I share similar stories with those before me about feeling erased, feeling on edge, and on the defensive always. This is why representation matters. It's so important that students see teachers like Ms. Shoman, who look like them and have shared experiences. Students feel safe and confident to be themselves when they feel their teachers represent them. I commend Ms. Shoman for showing up to work every day and creating an environment that educates and advocates not only for Palestinians and Arabs, but for students, for Brown and Black communities and students of all histories. I also want to address the people who keep saying to leave politics out of it. Silence is also political. Silence is not neutral. It also means you have taken a stance. Students carry their lived experiences with them the second they walk into the doors of your schools. They must not be doxxed, harassed, or pressured to be silent about the mass televised murder of their people. They should be comfortable and proud to say they're Palestinian without people calling them anti-Semitic. They should feel comfortable and safe to talk about their culture. They should feel comfortable and safe to express the mourning and grief in the moments they're experiencing right now. We refuse to allow the words Palestine and Palestinian to be desecrated. I ask you to fully show up for your Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Russ.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am a left-wing, liberal, American, Jewish Israeli. I love the fact that we have students in this district that want to become activists, and I'm thankful for the students on the board. I myself was an activist in Israel back in 2004 and 2005, and again in 2008, advocating for Palestinian rights. I am also a daughter of a father who had to flee Morocco in 1949. And I myself can never go and visit Morocco. Being an Israeli, I can never go and visit alone. I would have to go on an organized trip. I want to share my story. I have a son who is in 4th grade. And a few days after October 7th, on Thursday, a day before what was declared as the day of global terrorism against Jews, on Thursday, I believe it was October 10th, he finished school and he was supposed to go to his after school. I was in a meeting and I suddenly got a call from the after school that my son did not arrive. I live 2 blocks from the school. I dropped the meeting. I didn't even explain to the people on Zoom why. And I just started running. I just ran to the school, the fastest that I ran in my whole life, because I was worried that someone did something to my son because he's Jewish. I cannot explain to the parents in this room the moments of terror. I cannot explain what it feels like to truly believe that someone can do something to your child just because he's Jewish, and the guilt that I felt for bringing him here to America. I arrived at the school to discover that my son was interested in what his teacher had to say and decided to stay with her in class. So by the time I reached the after school, I saw him there. I hugged him dearly. I did not send him to school the day after. He is back in school now, but I am scared. I am beyond frightened. And I ask all of you, when we talk about safety, we need to remember there is, I don't feel comfortable, and there is, I am terrified. And as a Jew that is also a descendant on my mother's side to Polish Holocaust survivors that have lost family, to know that there are Jews in Israel that are now bags of ashes, there is no body to identify, we are beyond horrified. That is true terror, and we cannot let Hamas win and terrorize here as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mar Hudson.
I'm an
Mark?
SMUHSD
Yes.
student, and I hold great disappointment in the inability of the district to hold thought and action in tandem. Belief is useless if it does not compel you to act accordingly. I have heard time and time again throughout my 2.5 years in the district that mental health matters, and yet I and other primarily marginalized students have been put on watch lists for expressing vulnerability and struggle as if that is anything close to care. Mental health matters, and yet I see my Arab and Muslim classmates move through the halls clearly tense and afraid. I see some girls who have stopped veiling because they tell me they are afraid of being targeted or labeled as terrorists, as animals, as their families have been in Gaza. The district claims social justice as a vital foundation of their work, and yet teachers whisper their concerns because they have been limited in what they may rightly teach. Inclusion and equality, yet there were school-based fundraisers for the liberation of Ukraine, crickets for Palestine, for Congo, for Tigray, for Haiti, for Sudan, for Cuba, for every nation that the West has deemed ripe for extraction. Within your schools, history is twisted, solidarity is banned, people are dehumanized, and students are failed. This district has 9,000 students sitting in classrooms where Palestinian children should be, and instead they suffer under the rubble, and they suffocate under carnage and this board's neutrality. Have my educators forgotten that justice is a verb? As said by Yelda Ali, neutrality is not a virtue synonymous with integrity. Integrity demands a choice. Staying neutral to save face and preserve your image is not a choice grounded in integrity, a trait that I hope my guiding adults would have. I extend my greatest support and my strongest appreciation to the educators within the district who have the courage to do their jobs and act in the ways that the district does not. I will say this with my chest and from the depths of my being. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Thank you. Next speaker.
This is the last online. Ceasefire now. You may unmute and begin.
Okay.
Good evening. I stand before you expressing gratitude for Superintendent Booker and the board's commitment to prioritizing our students' needs and maintaining a neutral stance amid external pressures. It's not the statement I would have written personally, but nonetheless, because there is no balance in the ongoing genocide, but we'll take it for the win column anyway. The sentiments shared at the October 12th meeting, particularly the misinterpretation of empathy for one group as animosity towards another, resonates deeply and disturbs me greatly. I've witnessed firsthand the fear and anguish so many of your students are feeling, all compounded by their inability to show any compassion to the suffering they are seeing unfold before their very eyes on all social media platforms. Arab American students in our district have so many conflicting emotions and are experiencing high anxiety due to the ongoing conflict. Without any outlet to voice their fears and frustrations, unlike their Jewish counterparts, who get to repeatedly say they are afraid and are permitted to repeatedly reference the Holocaust, while any talk of the genocide of the Palestinians is immediately shut down. It is crucial for the board to prioritize the safety of all students, adopting a zero-tolerance approach to hate speech and acts. I want to express my support for educators like Dr. Samia Shoman and others who courageously speak up to provide various perspectives. Representation matters, and I appreciate the board's leadership in teaching ethnic studies. I encourage continued support for this program, ensuring the inclusion of diverse voices, including those of Arab and Palestinian communities. Dr. Shoman's students love her, learn from her, and have a better understanding of various narratives from different perspectives thanks to her. Please don't try to silence her or allow bullying tactics to tarnish her or her reputation. She is an excellent educator, and we need more like her. Addressing the concerns raised about anti-Semitism, I unequivocally condemn such sentiments. Feeling unsafe in our community is disheartening, and it's troubling to acknowledge that this has been an enduring issue since the 80s when I went to high school. It is essential to differentiate between advocating for freedom and justice and any form of prejudice. Let us work towards open dialogue and understanding, promoting an atmosphere that values diverse perspectives and upholds the inalienable right to call for justice and freedom without being framed as anti-Semitic. For those speakers who want facts, allow a few. The Israeli occupation of Palestine is illegal. The U.S. funds the killing of Gazan children. Let's not kill the spirit and the education and hopes of our students in our education system. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to turn back to in person. So Noreen Mizra.
Good evening. Thank you guys for your patience and for being here so late. I want to thank Superintendent Booker and the school district for your support for all of your students. I commend you for releasing a statement condemning violence and aggression on all sides and for expressing the need to be there for all students during this incredibly horrible time, regardless of their race, ethnicity, or religious background. I appreciate that your statement was inclusive of the pain of all those affected and stands against all forms of violence and hate. The events of the last month have been heartbreaking, to say the least. The sheer number of lives lost and the continued suffering of innocent people while the whole world watches feels like a nightmare that I cannot wake up from. As a physician, the complete disregard for human life, for the lives of children being indiscriminately killed, is unfathomable to me. The lives of all children should be equal, and we have been unequivocally shown that not all children's lives are worth the same. Our students, our children, and our communities cannot outwardly grieve for the immense loss of life in Palestine without being called Hamas supporters, terrorists, and anti-Semitic. And this is simply not true. These children and our students are humans who believe in the sanctity of life and basic human rights. Currently, they feel that their voices do not matter and they are actively being silenced. Our students are scared to dialogue for fear that their words in support of an end to violence are twisted into something they are not. We need our teachers, our school leaders, and our parents to protect the rights of their Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim students just as ferociously as the rights of their Jewish students. Now is a time when our children need to have a safe place for respectful dialogue, and what better place than our institutions of learning? I hope that you will provide that for them so that they can remain friends, future colleagues, and brothers and sisters in humanity. So I urge you to continue to advocate for the rights and safety of all of your students and encourage our children and ourselves to leave our echo chambers so that we can feel the pain of the other side. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take a moment. We have 9 speakers, but in our rules, we were supposed to check in at 9:30 to decide what we're going to do. We have a few presentations, in fact, one that is due today. Because of the length of this meeting, my suggestion and at the direction of Superintendent Booker is to dismiss our presentation today or spotlight today and have that redone at the next meeting. If there's a consensus on that, I can let the speakers go, the presenters go, so that we can still conduct our meeting and still allow all the speakers to speak. Is that okay with everybody? Yes. Yes.
Do we need a motion or anything?
It's more of the rule of our board rule. Yeah, our board rule basically is consensus. So if we all have consensus, we're good. Okay. Yeah. Seeing that we have a consensus, let's have the spotlight and student learning be postponed till next time. Okay. So thank you to the speakers who are going to present, and we're sorry that you had to spend so much time waiting. But I do want to say we need to get back to the speakers. I'm going to call on the next speaker and continue our meeting. So Nadine Mansour, I hope I said that right. Okay, I'm getting better. It just takes the whole night.
All right. So my name is Nadine and I'm a community member. And I've obviously been hearing a lot this evening, and I just want everyone just to take a moment to remind yourselves that we are human beings. I've been hearing a lot of dehumanizing language. And at the end of the day, we are all human. And as humans, we need to learn how to speak to each other with respect. We should not tolerate any kind of hate. And rather than condemn this or that, how about we give our students the skills to navigate the difficult conversations, the knowledge to help inform their opinions on important topics that matter, and safe spaces. And unsurprisingly, that is where education comes in. And a good education is never one-sided. A good education is rich. Right now, our students are learning about Israel's war on Palestine on social media. And as many of our students learn more about the century-long occupation and inhumane treatment of Palestinians by Israel, they are speaking out. And they are being silenced. And they are being accused of being anti-Semitic. And again, let me be clear. There is a difference between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. And again, that's where education comes back in. Education is what sets our students up for success, to challenge false information and to be critical thinkers. So I just want to applaud our teachers, such as Ms. Showman and Ms. Thompson, for giving their students the tools to have discussions. I really wish I had that when I was younger, when people said things like, Palestine's not a country. And I thought, oh, okay, that makes sense. Doesn't sound right, but okay. It helps people see the world for what it is. And the world is not perfect. And oftentimes it is cruel. A rich education creates and builds empathetic, intelligent, and critical thinkers who will ultimately go on to dedicate their life to solve these issues and these injustices that they see, because they look at things critically. And that's why I just want to express my unequivocal support for the teachers in this district who are fiercely defending the right to provide a rich and comprehensive education. Because if free Palestine is a dirty phrase, then I think there's a serious issue, because free Palestine means basic human rights. It means self-governance. It means no daily humiliation. It's very basic. And again, it's not just Palestine. We should be having these conversations about what's going on in the Congo and Sudan. So again, thank you for your time this evening. And please, let's continue to redefine what education means, because it should be rich. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Aya Elzarka. I hope I said that right. Close. Okay.
Yeah, pretty close, Aya. All good. Before beginning, I just wanted to thank you all. I really appreciate that you were willing to table another discussion to allow everyone here and on Zoom to be able to speak. And I'm kind of pretty shocked and amazed by your continued attentiveness and empathy as this meeting continues. And so once again, on Nadine's note of recognizing the humanity of everyone in this room, I want to genuinely thank you all. And with thanking you all, I really want to and communicate that I feel not only with your kind of decorum with this meeting, but that I can really tell that everyone in this room genuinely cares about creating an inclusive environment for students. With that, I think a lot of people have shared a lot of really nice perspectives. I particularly am a trauma therapist that focuses on developmental trauma. And it's from that lens that I want to share some information to really remind everyone in this room what's at stake. And so just a really quick psychoed thing, there's trauma that happens, right? There's something called capital T trauma. You're in a war zone, a car accident, some really big event. There's another type of trauma, what they call small t trauma. And that happens usually when you're continually invalidated, dismissed, made to feel unimportant. It happens a lot to minorities who continually experience microaggressions and those experiences aren't validated. Developmental trauma now not only has short-term impacts on students and their ability to function academically and in their personal lives, but long-term in their adulthood leads to things like anxiety and depression and a whole slew of maladaptive behaviors. And so it's with that I want to remind everyone what is at stake right now. And that I want to really echo the sentiment that empathy for one group does not mean hatred for the other, because the development of every single student and their well-being, not only in their environment in school right now, but in their long term, is extremely important. And they always say within the trauma field as well, that it's much easier to prevent and protect trauma than it is to heal it. Of course, the opportunity for that exists, but I want to commend you all that by issuing statements that recognize and support and have every single student on your campus and in your district feel seen, it's an opportunity to both protect and heal all the trauma that a lot of the people in this room have experienced, from both Jewish students, Muslim students, Christian students, atheist students, any student that's experienced. When you feel seen and heard and validated by the adults in your life, and when you create a community of students that are able to engage in rich and critical educational conversations, and where disagreement can happen and align with respect, that creates impacts in the short-term learning for students and also in their ability to function as not only adults without psychological issues, but once again, grounding us all in the humanity that we experience as humans. So thank you so much for your efforts to create an environment like that.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Alexandra Dove. I hope I said that right. This time.
You're gonna have 2 for 1 today.
Okay.
Yeah.
You still got 3 minutes. I did it to the other group.
Yes, yeah, we're on it. During my first year teaching what was then contemporary world studies, I was told to be very careful when teaching the Middle East because a colleague, Shamia, was being sued for their teaching of the subject. My department chair had encouraged me to superficially teach the subject, so to not get in trouble. That is an incredibly dangerous sentiment.
Teaching is a political act. We as history educators every day have the choice to shine a light on history and the world, or to take an easy route and avoid anything that might seem uncomfortable. That does not mean that we use our privilege of position to shout our own personal opinions or voice our force our opinions on our own students, but it does mean that we do the hard work to present information for our students so that they can understand and engage with content even when it's uncomfortable.
There has long been a culture of fear in this district to teach history at times, and that fear has grown in recent years with the rise of mis and disinformation nationwide, as well as here at home. As someone who has taught ethnic studies as well as modern world history, I've personally experienced the harms of this culture in this very room. With this greater context and now the heightened tensions of the horrors that are currently occurring in Gaza and Israel, it is unsurprising that my colleagues do not feel safe to talk about these matters in their classrooms. But who does that serve? And more importantly, who does that harm?
I want to call our attention to the first two student outcomes from the Modern World History course of study. They are to contextualize modern global issues and events with pertinent historical connections for a variety of perspectives and interpretations, and to analyze power structures throughout modern history, as well as the movements created to expand the voices for freedom. Without intentional and tangible support from the district and the board, we will continue to perpetuate the harms that have contributed to the tensions expressed today. Emails are a start, but they are not enough. Teachers need to be supported to do our job, which is to teach. We need the district to make sure that we as educators are prepared to support our students and reach the outcomes they've set out for them.
When I ask my students who have family and community that are currently living in unimagined horrors, the number one response I have heard from them is that they want to be seen. They want their experiences to be centered and valued. They want our district to make space for their pain and processing and experiences. And that cannot be just with wellness counselors or the few teachers and staff who choose to make space for their students. They want you, this board, and our district to make space for them. Our most marginalized students experiencing the greatest harms do not feel seen. That is a failure by this district. Our students will continue to experience harm if we do not change this response. To be silent is to perpetuate the systems of oppression that we as a school district say we are against, and it undermines the values that we are supposedly founded upon. To not teach about Palestine is to reinforce to our community that the subject is too controversial, scary, or not worthy to do so. I have to believe that our district is better than that.
We want to thank our fellow colleagues that spoke out tonight, Brittney, Rema, Candace, and Melissa, and finally to Dr. Showman for a continued brave guidance and support from leading us in creating ethnic studies and to also showing us what it means to be a true educator.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Adel Rahman Ogail. Hope I got that right.
You're amazing. Thank
Okay.
you.
Keep trying.
Cool. So yeah, I wanted to share with you some thoughts. My name is Abdurrahman. I am a father of 2.5 kids, half on the way. I'm also I'm a club master for a pack of 140 boys and girls from San Mateo, South Bay, East Bay. We have a large pack, and I wanted to share with you a couple of things today. One is a few suggestions and recommendations, along with a rationale behind them. And lastly, a few supportive examples to explain what I'm talking about. So first of all, I want to thank you for the balanced statement that was presented and for promoting freedom of speech for everyone, Jewish and Palestinians. This is amazing. Second, I want to thank teacher Samia Shuman for her ethnic culture courses and for promoting education about these kind of matters. Now, I want to start by giving just a quick story. Just happened for me today, few hours. So before coming today, and after my daughter, she finished her swimming class, I told her, we have a hearing today. Do you want to come and share your feelings? She didn't respond. I asked her again, do you want to come? We have a hearing. Do you want to come and share your feelings? She told me, Dad, I'm scared. I'm worried that if I shared my point of view about Palestine, a bunch of strong boys will come and fight me. And this is how a little innocent girl feels. And I think it's demanding on all of us, the families, the education system, the communities, to promote freedom of speech for everyone. This is super important. Second, I think the balanced statement that was mentioned, it had some arguments of being anti-Semitic. And I think this is absurdly incorrect claim. Freedom of speech for everyone is not anti anybody. I think the root cause of that is probably due to ignorance and the lack of knowledge, which is thankfully what education systems can mitigate and solve. I'm hoping by people learning more about the other part of the story, they can understand, and once they understand, they can build empathy. Now, I want to share with you a practical example we tried in our pack. We requested each den that has 10 to 12 kids that they have to schedule every year for 3 years a meeting with a different group from different ethnicity, different religion, and they need to learn from them something new. And we ask each cub, what did you learn? And that's how we make sure that they will be able to learn and will be able to understand others. To close, I want to thank you for the balance statement. I want to thank teacher Shuman for her courses, and please beef up this direction of education and understanding each other. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next speaker is Lisa Wright. Lisa? No. Okay. I'm going to move on to Nadia Nadia Masahlu? Yes? She left. Okay. Mohammed Ali? Mohammed.
Hi, everyone. So first of all, I'd like to start by thanking Superintendent Booker for his balanced and well-considered statement on October the 10th. It's during this difficult time that we see a biased and often false media narrative that is also heard by our children. For the superintendent to denounce violence and show humanity in his original message offered some counter to this one-sided narrative and offered some comfort to many of the parents in our community. As someone who grew up in a school where teachers, students, and parents exhibited bias, racism, and Islamophobia, I know only too well how diverse schools and communities can be left fractured and divided through hate. Ultimately, it leaves our children unable to make the most of their schooling and education as they feel vilified, but also has a profound negative impact on their mental health, as you've heard from far more educated people than me on the matter. I would encourage the superintendent and the board to continue to decry the ongoing violence we see, where many of our community have familial and cultural ties as well as friendships. Don't be silenced. Don't give in to the McCarthyism that we are seeing, but also protect the rights of students to express solidarity with Palestinians. Don't let their voices be silenced. Finally, I'd also encourage the board and administration to take every step to tackle Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and all forms of hate, putting the safety, educational, and wellness needs of our children first, something that sadly can't be offered to the 6,000 dead children in Gaza and many more that are trapped under oppression. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Adam Taub. I hope I got that right. I think I messed up your last. Okay.
Thank you. Teach history, keep kids safe, keep politics out of things, but make sure people have a voice. It's hard. We disagree about basic facts. We need to do so respectfully and see each other's humanity, even when we disagree. If we can't do it ourselves, how can we expect our kids to do it? Here's my voice. I'm a Jewish American, a parent, and a Zionist. What does it mean to be a Zionist? It means to believe that Israel is a Jewish state, a sovereign state. Sadly, I hear a lot of hate hiding behind certain narratives. I'm going to assume best intent. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt, but calling Israel a racist state is hateful. It is a free democracy. 20% of its citizens are Muslim or Arab. Anti-Zionism is the same thing as anti-Semitism. It is hateful to say otherwise. It pains me to hear it. When you say from the river to the sea, Palestine must be free, do you mean Israel isn't a sovereign state? The lone Jewish state in the world? Because this is a primary source of disagreement and confusion and why students don't feel safe when they hear that phrase. So please be clear. And to be clear, Israel is imperfect. One of the great things about Israel is that it's a democracy. There's free speech there. There's dissent. And nobody is more critical of Israel than its own people. Being critical of Israel is not anti-Semitic. Denying Israel as a sovereign Jewish state is. I keep hearing that it's evil. Zionism is evil. What does that mean? Do you deny Israel's right to exist as a sovereign state? There was a ceasefire on October 6th, an imperfect one, I grant you. That was broken by the horrific attacks by Hamas. Hamas was elected by the Palestinian people, albeit a long time ago. Hamas is a terrorist organization. They've been in power for over 15 years. Let's all join together and free Palestine from Hamas. Call for Hamas to surrender. Call for the return of hostages, and let's have a lasting peace. If you seek a two-state solution, something which Israel has offered or accepted over and over again, there can be peace. But if you deny Israel's right to exist as a sovereign state, as established by the United Nations, and that's what you mean by anti-Zionism, then be clear about it. That is indeed anti-Semitic. I'm running low on time, so I'm going to cut ahead. As far as what's going on at home here, there is rising anti-Semitism. Here in San Mateo, in San Francisco, and elsewhere, there are teachers in high schools making Holocaust jokes. A high school teacher joined students at Menlo Atherton making a Holocaust joke. How do you fit 6 million Jews in a Volkswagen? In an ashtray. Saying it in closing, I'm asking you to make sure the curriculum has facts and underscore the criticizing Israel is not anti-Semitic. The idea of anti-Zionism not acknowledging Israel's right to exist is anti-Semitism.
Thank you.
I want to remind the board you're responsible for the safety of all students, including Jews.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next speaker is Mohammed Bhatti.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mohammed Bhatti, and I was planning not to talk today, but with all of your generous time that you were spending to listen to us, so I thought it would be a shame that I don't talk. So even I'm not a good talker, I'm going to talk, and I'm going to say thank to the superintendent for putting a well-balanced statement out there about the current issues going on. And I also want to talk about actually, I want to tell a story that when all this started, one of my friends, Jew friend, reached out to me, and he talked to me about like joining him at the synagogue to express a solidarity with the Jewish folks. So I went there. So if I'd been an anti-Semite, I would not have done that. But at the same time, I would also stand for the freedom of Palestine. That doesn't mean that I'm anti-Semite. That means that I want to have a free and freedom of living, freedom of have free electricity, food, all the basic human rights that Israel have, but at the same time Palestine does not have. So I stand for the people of Palestine, and also I also want to talk about a story that when all this was happening and I was so down at my work and I was seeing people have different kind of views about all the situation, and I had my one-on-one with my manager, and we were talking about the daily business, how the business should conduct and stuff like that. But then she talked to me about, how are you feeling? And I said, I'm feeling fine. I did not thought about it. She's asking how I'm feeling mentally. But then she said I feel that what's happening is affecting you, and I think that I recognize that maybe many of the people don't believe that the news on the other side, but because it's not even there, if you don't even look for it, you're not going to find it. You have to look for the news that's happening on the other side. So I feel for you, and I felt very acknowledged that even though the news that has been masked, it has been not masked, and people are trying to find the true news these days, and now is the time to look for the actual news that's not been there. So even though the rise in the Jewish hate crimes have risen, the rise on the other side, on the Muslim hate crimes, have also risen, and that has not risen just today. That has been there since 2016. the 60% of the Muslims that are living in the United States have reported some sort of Islamophobic crimes even before this has happening. So like, why we are just talking about one society or one class of people, why we are not talking about all? So we should include that in our curriculum, and we should encourage that it should be taught the right way, not just the one way.
Thank you. Okay, those are all our speakers. I don't know, what do we have online? Is there anything? I'm not sure if there is new speakers or old speakers. I'm not sure at this point.
We currently have 13 hands raised.
Okay, so at the pleasure of the board, I'm going to shorten the minute to 1 minute. I'm, as per my ability as president or chair. So I'm going to change the restriction to 1 minute for the 12 speakers, and then we are done. So I'm closing the speakers to finish up, and then we will start the meeting. Is that okay? A question?
Excuse me. Yeah, no, it's fine with me, but I think after a certain point, we should not take any more comments.
I'm saying this is it.
Yeah.
So I
And
just
if they
closed
do
the
not
speaker.
accept the invitation, we'll bring them down.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
And they have 1 minute to speak. I'm changing the amount of time, and that's what we're doing. Okay.
Okay. Initials LL, you now have 1 moment.
1 minute.
I'm sorry, 1 minute.
Hello.
I'm cool
Hello.
as 1 moment, but I don't think that's good. They're not going to be happy. So 1 minute.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, you have 1 minute.
Hi. I'm a parent from. We have kids. I'm a Jewish parent. We have 2 kids in the school district. And on October 7th, what our kids learned and what they saw is how a lot of Israeli people were murdered and abducted. Our children feel scared, they feel alone, they feel unsafe to go to school. They can't even talk to anybody except calling us. Most classmates support Palestine, and one of the schools even promoted fundraiser. But school is not for hate. What I wanted to say is that school is not for hate, and our district need to ensure safe environment for all students to learn, because all the kids have equal right for safe, free education. That's my 1 minute.
Okay. Thank you. Next speaker.
Hajir.
Hajir, you have 1 minute.
Yes. It's heartening to see teachers support Gaza and shedding light on lesser explored historical events. As a student, educators play a crucial role in guiding us through these events, especially those not excessively covered in our studies. It's important to stress that advocating for free Palestine shouldn't be misunderstood as anti-Semitism. Creating an environment where open discussions and diverse perspectives thrive is crucial. This setting allows us to delve into complex issues like the Palestinian cause without fear of being judged. The phrase "from the river to the sea, Palestinians will be free" isn't about wiping Israel off the map. It's a call for Palestinians to return to their land. This struggle did not start on October 7th. It's a 75-year-old issue marked by significant historical events like the Nakba, Naksa, and the Great March of Return. This emphasizes the need to discuss political topics in
Thank you.
this.
Your minute is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
Okay. Jana.
Sorry. I just have to be.
Jana Hamadi.
Can you hear us? There we go.
This is Jenna Hamdi. I wanted to say thank you so much for having this on the agenda tonight, and thank you for staying late and allowing everyone to have the space to speak their piece. I have 3 children, and I want them to be truly authentic, respectful, empathetic humans, and to always feel obligation to be on the right side of everything that's going on in the world. And this is a really horrifying time in history. For us to be stuck on October 7th, condemning Hamas, it's a complete distraction to what's happening. Over 15,000 people have been killed, and there's no clear end. And this isn't a religious issue, so no one should feel any sort of hate. We needed to demand a ceasefire, and that should have no reason for anyone to feel any sort of way but proud to stand on the right side of history. I'm not sure how a ceasefire is anti anything. Open your eyes, View the Palestinians as human. Stop the bombing now. Thank you very much. Free Palestine.
Thank you. Okay. Next speaker.
Alana
or Elon?
Yes, hello.
Alana, okay.
Hi. Okay. People who hold a binary definition of Zionism, aka colonizer versus colonized, fail to understand the complexity of this word. One of the biggest reasons the word Zionist can feel so triggering is because people often don't believe or truly understand what it means, or they cherry pick a definition that fits their binary narrative. Jews originated from the kingdom of Judah, modern day Israel, thousands of years ago, hence our name, Jew, predating the creation of Christianity and Islam. We were colonized and kicked out of our homeland during the diaspora, the only reason Jews ended up in Europe. Yet despite this, we always pray toward Jerusalem, toward the wall of our first synagogue that was destroyed twice, and repeat the same oral histories of our enslavement and diaspora every year during Passover. People constantly mistake all Jews as being white and privileged, completely erasing Jews of color while simultaneously ignoring that we were never white enough for Nazi Germany. A colonizer has somewhere to go back to. Where do Jews go back to? We will never have peace until Jews are recognized as indigenous to the land of Israel, who have the right to exist and to self-determination. This does not mean at the exclusion of other people, at the exclusion of other populations who are also indigenous to the land. Jews have been murdered and kicked out of every single neighboring Arab country they have ever lived in. And we say never again. When our connection to the land of Israel is erased by educators using big words like colonizer and apartheid without context,
thank you
we are
very
making
much.
a statement we have
Thank
no
you
right
very
to
much.
self-determination.
Thank you. Next
Education
speaker.
over indoctrination.
Next
Thank
speaker.
you.
Next speaker. I'm sorry, 1 minute for everyone.
Katrina.
Yeah, hi. Proud product of the San Mateo High School district. I studied at Burlingame High School, Aragon High School, went into college San Mateo, and then UC Berkeley and Harvard. It's unfortunate that the first time I got an ethnic studies education was at UC Berkeley. I imagine it would be a very different experience had I gotten that education in middle school or high school. I'm not here to try to give a history about the colonization of Palestine by Israel, but there are many educators out there who have the credentials and the position to where they can educate about this topic, and we should support and uplift them, such as Professor Shomen. And for those who are citing about the Arabs who live in Israel, I think you're talking about those who are forced to carry an entirely separate ID from other Israelis. Maybe something we can educate about is the 4 different ID systems that Palestinians have to carry. So if we had proper education about the subject and its history and its present, then that is something that maybe would be less of a misconception. Thank you. Free Palestine.
Okay.
Is it Shagufta? I apologize.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. In the interest of the time, I'm gonna keep it very short. First, thanks so much for giving a chance for me speaking with you all. I appreciate the ceasefire on the agenda that you put on, and we all demand ceasefire. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Barbara. KB is the last initials.
Yes,
Barbara?
hi.
Go ahead.
Thank you guys for opening your platform to speak about the subject. I just want to share my experience as a mother, where we live in a cluster that townhomes and we share a backyard. My daughter best friend, we're Palestinian, and my daughter best friend is Jewish, and they're like twins. They are inseparable. They live together. They can't be separated in any way. And I just want to make sure that when they get to the high school, they stay the same. Talking about history as is, even if it's painful, it's a must. We cannot change the history. We cannot alternate the history. How Palestine was taken and how Jewish were suffering, all of it is important, and all of it is a history that we cannot change. So I just want to make sure that our schools maintain this, objective and keep these girls as friends as they can.
Thank you.
Zanab.
Zanab, you have 1 minute.
My name is Zainab Masri.
Okay.
I am the current president of the Mills Middle Eastern North African South Asian Alliance, a school club that has been fighting for Middle Eastern student representation in our district. It has pained me to sit through this meeting and see Palestinian students' experiences and what is going on in Gaza completely invalidated. We shouldn't have to sit through Palestine being constantly bombarded and wait for bloodlines and a whole ethnicity be wiped out in front of us and then sob about it later. The school has constantly silenced Middle Eastern students and not cared about what has happened to us. Where was the mental health announcement and mental health day for thousands of lives lost in Yemen, Syria, Iran, and the rest of the Middle East? None of what has occurred in these countries are in the past. They are recent ongoing issues affecting current students in our district. You can support Palestine and still mourn the lives lost in Israel, but completely invalidating the Free Palestinian movement is being on the side of the oppressors. We are not asking our school district to fly to the Middle East and create peace. We are asking for resources and help that is equal amongst everyone, to both Jewish students and Middle Eastern students. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Jahan.
Hello.
Hi, go
My
ahead.
name is Jihan. Thank you. My name is Jihan Salah. I'm a corporate attorney, and I'm here because I'm specifically concerned for the silencing of teachers advocating for the freedom of the Palestinians. On the news, we see the mangling of the cause. Pro-Palestine rallies are being labeled as pro-Hamas. Empathy for dead Palestinian children turns into hating Jewish children. There is absolutely no free peace, and as a school board, we need to support dialogue and not censure on one side. Week 2 or week 3 of the war on Gaza, Israel bombed every single cell tower, internet tower, preventing any social media photos of the war from coming out. We need to not follow suit in censoring our own students. We need to because when we censor students, we see rise in Islamophobic attacks, we see pro-Palestinian professionals fired from their positions, and we're creating an environment where it's not okay to have another view on Gaza except for the mainstream view. I just want to make another comment that I appreciate the dialogue here, and that's it.
Thank you.
President Land, after this next person, Andrew, comes on, there are 2 more virtuals online.
Okay. 1 minute each.
Andrew?
All right. Can we move to the next speaker?
Hi, I'm Andrew. Can you hear me?
Okay, Andrew, you got 1 minute.
Thank you, Superintendent Land. I want to thank the board.
Just President Land. Superintendent's the other guy.
Sorry. President Land and Superintendent Booker, thank you for your time. I want to thank you for all your time. I appreciate that you're engaging in this dialogue. I guess I want to say that I hear a lot of people calling for a ceasefire, but I don't hear a lot of people calling for release of the hostages. 240 people have been dragged from their homes in Israel into Gaza as hostages, and we're asking for them to come home. We're asking for dialogue. We're asking for communication. And I think that's being lost right now in this dialogue.
Thank you. Last speaker.
Okay, Yara, you can go ahead.
Or second to last speaker. Okay, we need to move on.
Yara, that would be the last one.
Okay, all right. Can you?
Sorry, could you guys not hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. You got a minute.
Oh, my apologies. I was speaking. I didn't know
No
you couldn't
worries.
hear
You
me.
got a minute right now.
Okay. Anyways, I was saying that I'm a Palestinian American and I was born and raised in San Mateo. And I was lucky enough to go to Aragon, where I had a contemporary world studies teacher who made me feel safe in my class enough to speak up on the situation in Palestine and Israel. I wanted to say thank you for your time, but I'm asking that you let your students and professors speak up about this in schools, specifically in space environments. Teach your children to think that speaking up on injustice should never, ever be silenced. Give them enriched learning environments where they feel like very safe to speak. Also, I wanted to say that saying from the river to the sea has never been a call to kill Jews or a call to genocide. It's always been a call for freedom, because Palestinians are always under apartheid. Since 1948, they have been facing apartheid and genocide and ethnic cleansing nonstop. Mind you, this did not start on October the 7th. This has started since 1948. Palestinians are being killed constantly. So this is not something new, and this should be talked about. This should be spoken up about in our schools.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's it. Okay. Can you see at the top of it says view? Can you X that out, please? There. Thank you. Okay. All right. That is public comment. Now we are going to turn to board. What? Yeah. So now we are going to move on to board comments. Is there anyone at the board who would like to speak before we start our meeting? Because we technically haven't started our meeting yet. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for being here. And I really appreciate your voices, all voices. Thank you. Anyone want to speak? I'll take a turn. Can I go first?
Sure. Go.
All right, I'm going to go first. So I need to address one of the speakers who spoke. I'm the principal of BIS, and I'm going to speak as that person to address what was discussed. There was an incident, and there was a derogatory phrase that was done by one child to another child at my school. And I just feel like I have to speak up. I hope this is appropriate. It's probably not, but I need to speak because it talks to me about what I feel about the situation and how my heart hurts. Yes, there were two individuals. One was Jewish and one is Palestinian. They were friends in elementary school, really good friends. And then in middle school, they started to argue, and one said what he said inappropriately. So as the principal, I had to intervene because I do not believe in hate. I do not believe in anti-Semitism. I don't believe in Islamophobia. I believe in inclusivity. And a lot of you said something tonight about that. And I just want to cherish those words. So I, as the principal, of course, got them together to have a conversation. We talked. I gave consequences, and I checked in with them a couple days later. Well, when one of the boys told me, I said, "How's it going?" You know, he was back in my office and we were checking out, and he goes, "You know, Ms. Schlan, after we talked and we understood, because they both are families who were going through a lot of pain from what was happening in the Middle East. They had relatives that were both sides, and there was a lot of heated emotions with their families. And they understood that, and we talked about that. And we both talked on both sides how they felt and the pain. And just like a week later, I asked how he's doing. And the one student goes, "Yeah, we're friends again. We hug every day. And that's where we're at." I just love sixth grade boys because that's the way they see things. It's like, so I wish that we could be more like them. And I just want to say that anyone who's talked about, you know, the United, I would love that our student board members decided to talk about the United Against Hate, because that's what this is about here. I can't change the world. I wish I could. I'd run for president, but you know, he's in San Francisco right now. But I'm here. And what can I do here? And what can I do at my own school? We could be united against hate. We can be critical thinkers and make sure that our students are critical thinkers, no matter what, no matter which side you're on and what you believe. You know, we have to promote that, because they have to look at the world with the view that we have right now, which is a lot of media from both sides, all messed up. And this is what's happening. And this is it's called propaganda for a reason, especially when there's fighting and there's violence and there's war. And that's why there's no cell phones working and all the cell sites are off, because that's what war is. And, you know, while we can't control that, we can control the critical thinking and make them think and really question what's right and what's wrong. And is that true, or is that really true? That's what we have to do as educators. There was a speaker tonight who said, we believe in building a better future for our children, and we want to be safe and included. That's exactly right. That's what we do. And as president of the board, as the superintendent here has said with his statements, you know, we want to talk about that. We want to talk about being seen, being heard. You know, I'm very proud of our ethnic studies program. I'm very proud of our teachers of the ethnic studies program. I'm very proud of the teaching that has to go on in world history and teaching about the Holocaust. That is critical. So I must say that I believe in a lot of what we did tonight. I know this has been long, and I apologize to my fellow board members, but This is what a United States in America is all about. We're going to be disagreeing, and we're going to talk, and we're going to be mad, and we're going to have our points of view. But we're all human, and we all need to figure this out. And I think my 6th grade boys really got it right. And I hope that someday that we can do the same. So that's all I got to say.
I want to say something. I just want to say thank you for everyone that came out and spoke. Again, it takes a lot of courage to come here. It's very vulnerable. We all are, everyone is hurting. I think I've been so sad for the past month and a half, and I'm not Jewish, I'm not Palestinian, but it hurts my heart because we're human, and thinking about what humanity is. I am always so proud of our teachers in this district. Just their compassion, their commitment to teach facts and to teach our students to be critical thinkers, to be loving to each other, to be fair. Since our conversations about ethnic studies, Samia Shoman has been attacked many times. She's been criticized for what she's named her children, just ridiculous things. People have threatened her life, threatened her family. Samia is one of the most genuine, most loving people that I've ever met. And it hurts my heart because she's even there for people that aren't even part of her culture, part of her community. My Latinos, the Bridge program, like she's there. She organizes fundraisers. She gets these kids to and from the hospital. There was a student that had a baby and she went to the hospital to be with the student. It's just like, it hurts me. It pains me because she does so much for the community. And still, even after that, she wasn't better. Even just the conversations that were being had on October 12th, that whole thing really broke my heart too, because it was one-sided. It was very contentious, and I felt like a coward because I should have said more, but I was too chicken. So I'm grateful, and I'm grateful for my colleagues to sit here and be open to listening, to be open to hearing people out. Thank you to Superintendent Booker. I think, I am proud of the statement you put out, the first draft. I mean, I know that all of us want the safety of our students. We all want the prosperity of our communities, but we can't do that unless we're fair and unless we're just. And that is to be able to have everyone feel heard and everybody feel seen. Like I said at the last meeting, ethnic studies isn't asking for the banning of Diary of Anne Frank. It's not asking for the banning of certain information and certain literature that is important to know, because it's part of people feeling seen. I wanted to just read a quote from the editor-in-chief for El Tecolote newspaper. He says, "May we never stay silent in the face of injustice. May we never lose our humanity." And that's what we need to teach our young people. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'll thank everybody for the comments. When you make a well-conceived comment, and I did compliment a few people, there was a lot of good comments. And I think our jobs, or at least my job, is to be a careful listener and consider what's been said. So I appreciate the comments. It's a tough situation. We're here to provide a safe environment for all students. and to make sure that they can critically think about the issues. That's what our job was yesterday, and that's what our job is today, and it's what it'll be tomorrow. So anyway, thank you and good evening.
Thank you. Trustee Chavez?
Thank you. I want to thank everybody who spoke. I want to thank those that are still here in the room. I want to thank everybody who spoke, whether you're online, virtually, or in person. My hand hurts from taking notes. I don't take the best notes, but I took 14 pages of notes, and I think we had 65 speakers. Everybody, I know, I took all the, it's messy though, but everything that was said was important. And a couple of things, not just a couple of things, President Land, I'm not going to read from all 65.
Please
I'm not, but I wanted to mention how important it is to understand that I heard a resounding theme tonight. Empathy for one group doesn't mean hatred for another. And I know I showed a lot of empathy last month when that group was here. That group, not that group, just the folks over in the audience and online. That's what I mean by that group. Because people are hurting, people are dying. And I cry when I put the news on. I see that there's babies in the hospital, there's parents in the hospital, children, civilians. We've heard it over and over again tonight. No civilians should be part of a warfare. Focus on the well-being of all students. School needs to be a safe place for all, and we have zero tolerance. We should have zero tolerance for any form of racism. And I want to say that I know my colleagues here. I don't want to speak for them but I have to believe and know that my colleagues here and superintendent and cabinet, we have zero tolerance for any racism in any of our school sites. And I want to thank everybody for coming to speak tonight. I also want to thank those that spoke last month as well. It's equally important to be able to listen to everybody's concerns and opinions. And I think a lot of people are fearful. And our school district, we have a lot of responsibility. We don't have we can't fix the fact that folks are dying every day or every hour even, or every couple of minutes. But what we can do is ensure safety for our students at all of our school sites, and ensure that each person that speaks can come and speak safely here at the podium. Not all countries have that, where you can speak freely and come to the podium and just speak and not be worried about your life. And so I know that it was very brave of everyone to come speak tonight as well as last month. So I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak. And I think education, well, that's why I'm here. Education is important. And I know we said keep politics out of the classroom. I have one more child still in high school here in our district, and she texted me the other day. She wanted her social security number. Well, I don't feel comfortable texting my daughter her social security number because I don't know who's looking at her phone over her shoulder. But I said, why? And she said, we're registering to vote right now. Wow. She's going to be 18 in 3 months. I think it's important that students in our district and students everywhere are educated. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot myself tonight by listening to everyone's comments. So I want to thank everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Jacobson.
Sure, yeah, I'll take a turn. I want to start out by saying that I think there's a lot that we all agree on here, like a lot. And one of the things that continues to come up is the need for students to feel safe, the need for education to be a safe place where students are exposed to multiple perspectives and where they are taught to use critical thinking based on facts and not on emotions. And I was frankly surprised as a parent of 2 students in the district that I think only one of their teachers between the 2 of them has said anything about the current events in the last month. Really surprised. and disturbed by that, because this is a big deal in our kids' world. And I agree with a lot of the speakers saying that school is a place where we need to be able to talk about these things. I'm grateful that between the last meeting, or the October 12th meeting, and this meeting, that we've had so many community members, parents, students willing to share their voices, because the more voices that we hear, the better we're able to grapple with the complexities that exist right now. And the better that we can show empathy for everybody, all of our students. We have learned that our curriculum matters. And I think it was one of you guys that said, maybe one of you guys that said, who's losing when we're not talking about this? It's the students. So I just hope that we can figure out a way. I know I want to point people to, we have a board policy 6144 on teaching controversial topics. There are definite guidelines and parameters that teachers need to follow when they are teaching. For example, let's see, it needs to be provided in a manner that invites critical thinking and an understanding of conflicting points of view. Instruction shall be presented in a balanced manner, addressing all sides of the issue without bias or prejudice and without promoting any particular point of view. In the classroom, teachers act on behalf of the district and are expected to follow the adopted curriculum. In leading or guiding class discussions about issues that may be controversial, a teacher may not advocate his or her personal opinion or viewpoint. When necessary, the superintendent or designee may instruct teachers to refrain from sharing personal views in the classroom on controversial topics. Students shall be assured of their right to form and express an opinion without jeopardizing their grades or being subject to discrimination, retaliation, or discipline, provided the viewpoint does not constitute harassment, threats, intimidation, or bullying, or is otherwise unlawful. So, here, adequate factual information shall be provided to help students objectively analyze and evaluate the issues and draw their own conclusions. The instruction shall not reflect adversely upon persons because of their race, ethnicity, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, disability, religion, or any other basis prohibited by law. So I think that what the community is asking for is within our board policy, and we need to follow it. It needs to happen. So
thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, we're done with board comments. Let's go to real exciting stuff. Consent agenda. All right.
I'll move adoption.
There's a motion. Okay, motion made by Trustee Griffin, seconded by Trustee Andrade Zuniga. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried for the consent agenda. Now we start with regular reports. Report of the superintendent.
I'm going to skip over my report. I'll give it next week or next meeting.
We already did the student board representatives. Board report of the District Teachers Association representative. Anyone online? Yes.
Here comes.
Is it Craig
Mr.
or is
Childress?
it
Yes.
Ms. Childress? Mr. Childress.
Yes.
Mr. Childress, you've been waiting for us. Thank you.
Shar probably thought I went to sleep.
Well, I still see you at school, which is not a good thing. I'm a little worried about you, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a long story.
Okay.
First of all, I just want to just mention, last meeting was not as well attended as this meeting or the one prior to that one. But I did speak a lot last time about support for teachers, support for students, support for the community, and really support for families who have felt exposed and afraid during this time. I really want to make sure that we recognize all the people tonight who spoke from the bottom of their heart, and to reiterate, how they're feeling and what's important for students. I was struck by a number of things folks said, many of which trustees and others have repeated. I think the idea of empathy for one does not equal hatred for another is a theme that rings true. I do want to recognize, some mention of teachers, which was my message last time, that we need to support our teachers, support our educational program. Obviously Candace and Shamia, who were mentioned multiple times, but also Michael, Angela and Alexandra, who spoke, Brittney, sorry, and Rema, all speaking on behalf of their students and their passion for supporting students and educating students, in the same vein that I spoke about last time about support for all. I appreciate what Trustee Jacobson just said about her being surprised about concerns that were raised tonight about that we're not providing enough factual basis for the content, or maybe shying away for some of the topics. And she did read the policy 6144 about providing factual information to support that instruction. And that's kind of what I was talking about last time. What I do want to recognize, and this is in no way intended to be derogatory, or in contrast to what Trustee Jacobson said, I just want to recognize that I think a lot of the reason that the current environment that teachers may feel concerned or apprehensive about teaching these topics was exhibited on October 12th at the October 12th meeting, with the vehement and steadfast disdain and accusations that were presented against the teaching staff and against the district and against the superintendent for his message as well. I think it's important to recognize that this environment really does exist. And I applaud her for saying that, we need to follow the policy, and we need to provide the support and the factual information and the support for teachers to provide this instruction. But the elephant in the room is the reaction that we've seen in the district, and the reaction against what our policies are and what we're trying to do. And I think a lot of teachers are feeling exposed. So I hope that we can find common ground, and tonight was a good step forward, at least from what we heard from the community. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm moving on to the report of the CSEA Chapter 519 representative. I think I'm turning this over to Superintendent Booker.
Correct. So unfortunately, Ms. Clemens couldn't be here tonight, so she asked me to read a statement, and it reads, good evening, everyone. I'm sorry I can't attend the board meeting this evening. However, thank you to Superintendent Booker for reading this CSEA Chapter 519 report for us. Hope you're all doing well, and despite of the unspeakable events occurring in the world, you are looking forward to the holidays and are keeping those you love close by, remembering to love and appreciate them every day. As we enter this holiday season, CSEA is thankful for all the classified staff who provide the crucial behind-the-scenes support that ensures that our schools are beautiful and are maintained to the highest standards that we are accustomed to and expect. In the administration offices and in the classrooms, classified staff provide the support that helps ensure that our district runs smoothly and that the certificated staff get the help they need with students. As we plan our holiday gathering for CSEA staff, we are also conducting our annual gift card drive for the HUGS program. We usually collect approximately $1,000 to $1,500 that we match with CSEA union funds to ensure all of those in need can benefit. We work with Dawn Scatena in the Student Services Department, who identifies district students who are the most in need of support. These students are unhoused, in foster care, or in other dire circumstances. In closing, the CSEA e-board and negotiations teams would like to thank you for the continued support that we have received from the district this year and look forward to working with you again in 2024.
Thank you. Moving on to the report of San Mateo Adult School Teachers Association.
They dropped off.
They dropped off. Okay. So we did postpone P, which is Special Report Spotlight on Learning. We're going to turn to the Division of Human Resources Personnel Consent Agenda.
We have 2 items on consent: personnel actions and adult school student transfers.
Okay, is there a motion? So moved. So moved by Trustee Griffin. Second. Seconded by Trustee Andrade Zuniga. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is carried 5-0. Moving on to the Division of Human Resources, Dr. Black.
Yeah, the personnel actions addendum, we'd like to make one retirement recognition. Patricia Bruce, counseling advisor at Aragon High School, submitted her retirement effective November 1st after 19 years and 1 month in the district.
Wow, good to know. All right, is there a motion?
I so move.
Moved by Trustee Andrade Zuniga. Any second? Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Trustee Chavez. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried for the addendum. Moving on to the approval of the anti-bias grant coordinator job.
Yes, the district received an anti-bias grant earlier in the year, and along with that becomes a position for a coordinator, and this is the job description.
Okay, any questions? Motion for approval?
I move for approval.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made by Trustee Andrade Zuniga, seconded by Trustee Chavez. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Moving on to Division of Instructional Services, Dr. Kemke.
Yes, we're looking for approval of a Intro to Interior Design course. This is a new CTE course that a teacher at Aragon developed. It's gone through all of the avenues for approval on our end, so we're seeking approval from you all.
Excellent. Any questions? Motion?
I would like to take that class.
Yeah, ditto. I was just like, I could use that right now. Anyway, a motion?
Motion.
Okay, motion made by Trustee Andrade Zuniga. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Trustee Chavez. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Okay, we have gone down. Nothing in board operations. Nope. Now just to future board items.
I have a couple. The Environmental Justice Club, and then also if we could get our championship team, winning team from Bridge to come, and we can recognize them at the next meeting.
The ELD soccer team.
Yeah.
From Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was going to say environmental. I'm just going to second what was talked about in the comments about putting something on or coming up with something for them to present, or at least come to the board.
So I want to let the board know they reached out to the board. Myself, I did respond to them, letting them know kind of the process for getting on the agenda. And then I additionally asked them to connect with me because I'd like to learn more about
absolutely
what they're thinking, proposing. So if I learn more, I'll connect back with you.
I think that's the right process. So thank you.
I have a request. Can we do a board Brown Act? Maybe something at another meeting, or in like a I don't know, like a
training
revisiting
session?
like a little training, or
A Brown Act refresher. Is that what I'm
like
hearing?
a small, or even if you want to
CSEA. CSBA always has one.
but even
It's also if we
maybe
go,
something condensed or something.
they'll have a condensed Brown Act
at
at the
conference?
conference that we're all attending.
I guess what
Yeah.
I'm saying is
Yeah.
it's in San Francisco.
Yeah.
We all should go. Let's pick one that we all attend on the Brown Act so we can all
Yeah.
hear the same thing.
Sure.
We okay with that? Bob?
Yeah, there's always a special Brown Act. I attended it last year with the new trustees.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to it last
Or
year.
even
Teasing you, buddy.
or even Robert's rules or something.
I don't know. I like Lehi's idea of a shortened one.
Oh,
When I,
you know what?
the school district, we had the Sumter County Council come and give us like a 20-minute, 20 to 30 minutes. Yeah, they were on the agenda.
It's
Some
easy.
County council.
You know, there are a few new laws that have come out
And
post
it
COVID.
might be good for the public to hear that.
Yeah.
You know what? All joking aside, CSBA, yeah, maybe we could go, but yes, we should have maybe like as part of a study session or something like that.
A study session sometimes, well, we were talking about something like 20-minute presentation.
Yeah, or even
Just a presentation as part of the meeting.
I agree with Jen, though. I think it would be good for the public to hear.
Greg, I thought you meant having a study session like a separate meeting.
No, just as part of the meeting. That's all.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think that the public knows that we don't talk to each other, that
Right.
we can't talk to each other.
Exactly.
Not about policy.
Except here,
Yeah.
Not about policy and yeah.
And we ought to just read the Ronald Smith Brown Act.
There you
Yeah,
go.
it's 2
There's a
pages.
book.
Great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a future agenda item for up for grabs. It's interesting because you mentioned Robert's rules.
2-page summary.
I wonder how much that bears on what we do. Maybe touch on that a little bit because a lot of times organizations do follow it and some they don't. I mean, it is kind of a guideline. I mean, what is the legal, do we have a standing rule for that? Do we using Robert's rules? I invoke point of information today from Robert's rules today.
Yeah.
There's also the president's workshop at the annual CSBA conference. I've attended that once.
I've done that twice.
Well, if you wanna-
Just a quick announcement. Just thanks to our interpreters for staying so late and our tech team for staying so late.
And our assistant superintendents and
our
our
cabinet
secretary
everyone.
of the board.
Thank you.
And our communications director.
Director. Yep.
All right. No, thanks for staying so late. It's just, what time is it? I don't even know.
50.
All right. It's almost 11 o'clock. Let's go. Anything else?